All right, boys. Welcome to my 2025 Node Worker Empire Guide for Black Desert Online. In this guide, we're going to cover everything you need to know about hiring workers, getting your worker empire set up, which nodes are the most efficient in the game, where you should start out, and maybe if you're a veteran, where you should be putting your contribution into. We're going to cover everything you need to know about workers. This is going to be a long guide, guys, so just watch the part of the guide. I recommend bookmarking it, coming back to it where you need it. Everything will be timestamped so that you can find everything that you need in there. But yeah, I recommend bookmarking it and coming back as you need to. This is basically the one-stop shop for worker empires. All right, let's do it. Okay, so you are just starting out. You're a new player. You're looking to get involved in what all of these worker nodes and all of this crazy stuff. How do you put energy into a node? How do you even get started with workers? Okay, so for starters, everything in Black Desert. Oh my God, honey, just stop kissing. She's silly. So everything in Black Desert Online is connected. These are nodes. As you discover the map and start to explore the world, you will unlock nodes. It's very important you talk with every node manager that you can find. All those little question marks on your mini map as you walk around and explore the world, just go up and talk to the NPC. It's super, super good, especially for certain nodes I'm going to mention require you to chat. Use the chat function with the NPC, and then you'll get like a secret unlock node. So you'll be able to discover like extra mining activities at that particular node. But I'll tell you what nodes those are a little later on. Either way, that's what you want to do early on. And all the nodes are interconnected with one another. So basically, in order to put energy into or put contribution into a node and have a worker work it, you have to have contribution invested into this node for a worker to do any sort of work for you at all in BDO. Okay, so in order to do that, if you have a value pack running, it's really, really easy. You can basically click on the node, and in the top left, it will say invest. Here, I can do one of my fringe nodes, and I can show you what it looks like. I will click this node, and you can see it says invest contribution. Now, I don't have any contribution available, but you see it's 0 out of 425. Okay, I don't have any invested contribution available, but you can just click this, and it'll work. If you do not have a value pack, say you're a free-to-play player, or maybe you just don't have a value pack, if you're a broke boy, just say so. We're fucking broke! Okay, if that's you, that's okay. You just have to run to the node manager themselves. All right, you just walk up to the node manager themselves and speak with them, and you can invest into that that node. It won't cost you any energy. If you do it remotely with the value pack and you like click on the node and you invest into it, it's gonna cost you 10 energy per investment, which is not very much. But if you're starting out in BDO, energy is kind of a precious resource. So if you value your energy at all, you're going to want to run out to the node, talk to the node manager, and invest the contribution directly into that node. Excavator nodes are very high quality nodes that are hidden from you initially. You can't just discover the node on the map and be okay. You have to physically walk up to the node manager themselves and chat with them. And then there's like an energy requirement. Usually it's like 5 energy or something, and it unlocks the excavation node. These are some of the best nodes in the game that give you trace of nature, which you need for alchemy, limiting reagent for alchemy. So when I talk about these in the next section of the guide, please understand that anything that has like an ore and then trace of nature, or has a shovel that looks like this is going to require you to chat with the NPC at the node manager in order to unlock it. Either way, once you have a contribution invested, you want to click on the node. It will have various resources that you can gather from that node: mine, gather, excavate, etc. Things that workers can do. And this one, it happens to be a potato node, and I'm using it because it's right outside of Valencia, so it's Logia Farm. Very easy for a new player to get. It's one of the first worker nodes that a lot of players choose to set up. Okay, you need to first invest. In fact, I'm going to cancel this, and I'm actually going to show you how this works. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to withdraw my contribution from it. Okay, and you'll notice that like once you invest into the node proper, you then have to click on the node, or if you're interacting with the NPC, you should be able to do this at the NPC. No problem. Same basic procedure. It should open this map for you. You then have to click on whichever resource you want to gather. In this case, it's potato. You have to click invest contribution. Okay, and then it'll give you your worker list. Okay, so your long list of workers should be here, and then you can tell it how many times you want to work on this. I usually hit F as in fantastic to do as many cycles as possible. Okay, and then I hit enter, and then you set where you want the goods to be deposited. I deposit all of my goods in Calpheon for the most part that I want to sell on the central marketplace. But all of my goods that I want to use in like cooking, like potatoes, for example, I actually send those to Grana because that's where I do all my cooking. So you can send them anywhere in the game, regardless of what level your worker is now. They used to be something exclusive to level 40 workers. That is no longer the case anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that to Grana, and you click go. You're like, but Blue, I don't have any workers hired. Say no more. I've got you. Okay. Hiring workers has never been easier. My God, she's hot. Holy moly. So in the top right of your screen, you have the little search bar function. Right there, you click that button right there, and then you've got the find NPC window. You've got the worker tab, and you can basically just path to the worker that you want to use in that particular town, or the work supervisor in that town. That's where you're going to hire workers from. And to be clear, there was a recent update. This is part of the reason I'm updating the guide about how you contract workers. There's two ways to get workers. The first one is the worker exchange. This is where players sell their workers to other players. You can register your own workers on the marketplace. You can register. So like if I want to click register, this is where I can put them on the market. Obviously they can't be working, and all of my workers are working right now. But that's where you would register them. And then this is where you would collect the money. This is the market list. This is where other players are selling their workers. And I recommend if you see artisan workers in here and you want workers for that particular town, you should absolutely just purchase them like this. It will save you a lot of time and effort. But you can see a lot of players are selling their workers and stuff. But more than likely, you're going to have to go roll for your workers at roll for. In other words, contract your workers from this particular menu right here. Okay, it's 5 energy per roll. You'll notice that I have 20 out of 20 workers in Heidel, 4 out of 4 in Glitch. Fortunately for this guide, I happen to have 2 extra workers that I can hire in Calpheon, so I can demonstrate this. That was definitely intentional. No money was spent. But you click hire worker, and it will bring you to this scene here. It will give you a random worker that you can choose to purchase. It can give you a random worker that you can choose to hire. So if you want to hire this guy, you can click hire worker here. There are different grades of worker, okay? And even if you're a new player, you should never be hiring. The grade of worker is the same thing for everything in basically any MMO. It goes white, green, blue, yellow, and then orange, okay? Now, orange being the artisan workers. So orange is artisan, yellow is professional, blue is skilled, green is stupid, and white is somehow dumber. Okay, so you don't want, you do not want anything below yellow. Okay, you never want to hire anything below yellow. Yellow is relatively easy to roll for. I would say you're looking at maybe 50 to 100 energy to get a yellow worker on average in any city that you're rolling for. Artisan workers, if you want to, I can't do view continuously because I don't have enough energy on this character. In fact, I will go, I'm actually going to demonstrate how to roll for workers real quick. Okay, so I want to hire workers in Calpheon, but I have a bunch of energy and I don't want to go through this like one worker at a time. One thing to note, when you are rolling for workers, you need to make sure that you have some silver in your inventory. You must have silver in your inventory. If you don't have silver in your inventory and you roll an artisan worker, you have just grafed yourself. You have no way to lock that and come back and get it. Once you close the window, the worker is gone unless you hire it right now. So you need to make sure that before you start rolling for workers that you at least have some silver in your inventory. It's not very much, right? You need like 200 mil should be fine. It doesn't cost very much. You see 10k for a blue worker. But if you want to view continuously, you can tell it what grades you want to do, like professional and up or artisan only, right? Never skilled and never green. You do not want to use blue or green workers anymore. It's 2025. That was something that Blade Boquest did back in the day, and we see how that turned out. Okay, you really want to use yellow only. I'm actually going to do artisan and up just to prove a point. Usually artisan and up workers require... honestly, we'll do professional and up just to show everybody. But I'll view continuously, and you can tell how many times you want it to roll, and you can see my current energy is continuously going down as it rolls through all the workers. I did not get lucky. That's too bad. We're out of energy. We can come back and try again sometime in the future. But that's how you roll for workers. You can contract them basically out of thin air. You can get artisans. If you're wondering how much energy it's going to take you to get one artisan, it would depend on a lot of things, but usually you're looking at 2,000 to 5,000 energy per artisan worker. Okay, and the professionals are only like 1 to 200 energy at most. Usually it's like 50 to 100 energy to get like the yellow grade workers. You're like, okay, well, what's the difference between yellow and orange? Well, it is substantial, but you can turn yellow workers into orange workers, which is something I'm going to show you how to do. Also, very interesting to note while we're on this subject, they added a new feature to the game. You'll notice that I'm standing in Sandgrain Bazaar here, which is all the way across the world, but I just rolled for workers in Calpheon. You can roll for workers anywhere you want in the world at any time on any character. You just need to be on the character you want to roll for in whatever city, just talking to a work supervisor. And then you can roll anywhere you want. So if I click contract workers, I can roll for in any city that I want. You can also see how many workers you have in every single city. Okay. The next thing we should cover is how to get worker lodging. So lodging, how do I get the space for the workers? Well, important to note, you get 1 worker lodging in every single city that you discover in BDO. You get 1 for free no matter what. Okay, so whether it be Velia, Heidel, Glish, Keplen, Calpheon, even Land of the Morning Light, Uke Joe Street, and everything like this, you will have 1 free worker slot in that city. So you could just walk anywhere. You should be hiring at least 1 worker in every region regardless because, well, you can. It doesn't cost you anything. Aside from that, there are 2 ways to get lodging for workers. 1, money. Spend money. Or 2, spend your contribution points, which a lot of people don't really want to do. So if you want to use money on the Pearl Shop, this is one of the most efficient ways to spend your US dollars in BDO overall, because these are permanent worker lodging. Let's see, I'll just type in lodge. Yeah. When you buy worker lodging, you see it's $2 a piece in North America. Some places are 67 cents a piece to get a worker slot in that area. So if you don't want to use contribution, you don't necessarily have to. It's just a few bucks in order to get the worker lodging. It is super pay to win, absolutely no question. But if you do find yourself strapped for contribution points, this lodging is obviously available everywhere in the game, and you can see that I have taken full advantage of this for basically every spot in the game. For the most part, I have bought a lot of worker lodging in BDO. In fact, they added 2 more worker lodgings, and I have not purchased those for a lot of these. But like for Trent, for example, I bought 3, but it's 5 per family in each zone, and I bought 3 of them because when the game came out, you can only buy 3 worker lodgings plus the one you got for free. Meant you could have 4 workers in every city without spending any contribution. It was a big W. Nowadays, you can have up to 6. 1 that you get for free plus the 5 you get from the Pearl Shop. So 6 workers in every city. You're not going to need that. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're just not going to need it. Period. Dot. But if you want to do the free-to-play method, I'm going to show you where you can hire the most cost-efficient lodging in the game for each area of the game, in each region of the game, okay? All right. You should not... It used to be that you used Balenos as the starting region. This has not been like this for a couple years now. Now there are 2 regions that you should invest into until you actually get into Balenos nodes. Okay, the first is Ulukita. Probably has the most cost-efficient nodes in the game. As of right now, this is one of the most recent patches. All of these nodes cost like 1, maybe 2 contribution apiece. Very, very easy to get. There are 12 of them, and the worker lodging is really easy to get. So there's going to be worker lodging in Aspercon that you can get from right here. This is 2 contribution for 2 lodging slots. That's really good. Whenever you can get 1 contribution for 1 lodging slot, that's really what you want to do. Okay, that's really what you want to do. This one is 1 contribution for 1 lodging slot. That's really good. So you can get up to 4 workers in Aspercon as a free-to-play player. And then if you come over here to Moosgar has a lot of lodging in it. So you can get 2 lodging right here for 1 contribution. That's the best contribution conversion rate in the game for lodging in Moosgar here. That's half a contribution point per worker lodging. That's giga. Okay, but you just click on the city that you want to invest into. Okay. And then you click on the various houses in the top right of your screen up here. If you don't know, you're like, okay, well, I don't know which houses have worker lodging. Never fear. In the top right of your screen, you can actually sort it by lodging. And then you can sort it by level. Level means how many workers it's going to be able to hire there. So level 2 lodging is going to be able to hire 2 workers. Level 3 lodging can hire 4 workers, believe it or not. And then 4 and 5 give you a lot more as well. But But again, it only has up to level 2 in Moosgar like this. So it'll just point the arrow at it so you can check. Oh, okay. Well, this one, this is 2 contribution for 2 workers. Okay, that's really good, right? And this is 1 contribution for 2 workers. Okay, so in order to get worker lodging in any town, guys, you simply click on the lodging that you would like to get, and then you click level up. If it is a multi-level purchase, okay, you can click this little arrow here and have it level up all at the same time. So you want the level 2 lodging, you can just hit enter. If you only get the level 1 lodging, don't worry. You're like, oh no, I need a level 2. Don't worry about it. You can just click it. You're just gonna have to wait for it to complete, and then you just have to click it again. But you'll notice if I click level 2 lodging like this, boom, it's gonna take 3 minutes, and then I'll have 2 extra lodging in Moosgar just like this. Okay, so that's the Moosgar lodging. This Aspercon we already went over, but I'll go over it again very quickly. Again, both of these are exactly the same. It's 1 contribution for 1 CP. It's 2 contribution for 2 CP here. Okay, so you're gonna want all of that lodging. As a free-to-play player, you're gonna want all of that. It's very cost efficient. We'll go over the nodes here in a minute. We'll cover them region by region. As far as the lodging goes up in Land of the Morning Light, we're gonna take a look at this too. Let's talk about Land of the Morning Light. If you're gonna do the Royal Palace, I forget what is this called again? The Palace Worker Guy. What was it called again? Royal Workshop. That's what I made I literally made the guide on the World. Don't worry about it. It's the Royal Workshop. That's what it's called. Okay, so if you're gonna do the Royal Workshop, I want to be very clear as a new player, this is not worth it for you. Okay, the Royal Workshop is not super good. Okay, you're almost just better off just having normal nodes. It's okay. It's kind of fun to get involved in. Obviously, I have all of the workers working around the clock, but I have a lot of contribution and things to do with. But like, you really don't want to do this as a new player. As you transition to mid game, 300 to 400 contribution. Okay, then you can look at getting into this. That being said, the best lodging in the game for this is actually in here. You do not want to purchase lodging for Yukjo Street. It's basically 1 contribution point for like 4 workers on Yukjo Street 4, and then it's another like 2 contribution for 6 workers on Yukjo Street 2. This is the only place like this in the game. Aside from this, the best lodging in the game is Moosgar, like I said. But I think the developers specifically designed this so you could hire 8 workers. You get 1 plus these 4 plus the other 2 here is 7. Or no, you get okay, is 8. So you get 4 here, and you get 6 here, which is 10, plus 1 is 11. So you're actually going to have over the amount of workers that you need. You only need 8 at a time to work the full Royal Palace. So you're going to have 3 extra workers, and I'll show you which nodes that I have chosen to invest into here in a moment. But like, that's the best lodging in Land of the Morning Light for sure. I have the pay-to-win lodging in Nampo Village, Dalbal Village, and Napse Biat County. But fortunately for you, pretty much all of the lodging in these various cities is extremely cheap. So again, you can just click on lodging in the top right up here and just click on like the level. And there's really not very many options that you can see for the different lodging areas in Nampo and things. And you can choose the one that kind of works best for you here. But again, it's usually 1 for 1 on your contribution for lodging in Land of the Morning Light, which is why, and all of the nodes are super cheap. And the amount of efficiency that you're getting in terms of silver per hour is giga. It's absolutely giga. Okay, let's talk about some of the other regions. Velia, best lodging in Velia. Okay, there is a min-max in Velia. The best lodging is going to be right through here. Velia Room 1, Velia Room 2, Velia Room 3. Now, if you don't have pay-to-win lodging, there is another way to get lodging in Velia, because you're actually going to find yourself quite short. You're going to be like, man, I need more Velia workers. Obviously, these are the only 3 lodging that you can get in Velia. Where do you get more lodging? That's okay. That's why you're watching the Blue Squadron guide. Come over to Tuscany Farm here. Believe it or not, you can buy lodging at Tuscany Farm. You can get 2 extra workers from Tuscany Farm. That will count as workers in Velia for you, so you can get 2 more workers than everyone else. If you just get extra lodging in Tuscany, it will add to the amount of workers that you can hire in Velia. I believe that this is 3 contribution for 2 workers. As I just pulled it out a little bit. No, it's 2 contribution for 3 workers. It's really, really good. Really, really cost efficient. in Velia. So that's the Balenos stuff. Again, Olvia, I don't recommend buying worker lodging necessarily in Olvia. This is not a super great town. You can get the free worker that works here. I have the pay to win worker lodging, at least some of it anyway. And so I have 4 workers here. But really, you could get away with 1. It's not going to be the end of the world. Heidel has very specific point that has the best lodging in Heidel. This is some of the best lodging in the game, period, is these Heidel 8-1 rooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are extremely efficient contribution lodging for Serendia. And to be clear, because of Heidel's very central location on the map, you're going to want this even if you're a pay-to-win player and you buy all the worker lodging in all the cities. Usually you're going to want even more workers than Heidel. You just can't go wrong with Heidel workers. These are some of the most contribution efficient houses in Serendia, no question. You definitely want to go ahead and pick these up because it's a lot of housing. You can see it's 8 workers for that one right there, plus another 4 right there. You're talking about, again, 2 more workers here, and then another 1 right there. And then I think I'm missing one of the houses as well. Yeah, there's 1 in here, Heidel 5. And again, you can get this one as well, but this one doesn't have worker lodging, so I don't bother. I just get these 4 at the top here. So yeah, that's where you want to get the worker lodging in Heidel. If you want to come over to Calpheon, the most efficient lodging in Calpheon, and Calpheon's really cluttered. I'm gonna make this super simple for you. The only lodging that you want to get in Calpheon is all the way down at the bottom. It's Calpheon Southern Gate 1, Calpheon South Gate 2-2F, and Calpheon South Gate 2-1F. That is the most efficient lodging in Calpheon City. Don't even look at the rest of them. There's way too many to even look at. If I click on lodging, it honestly might give you yeah, look at all that lodging. Yeah, I've already done this for you. It's down here. Just do these. Easy peasy. Okay? Easy peasy. Okay? What else? Altanova. You only want 1 worker at Altanova. Just gonna save you the trouble. There's not very good nodes in Altanova. If you end up doing some pay-to-win worker lodging, then it's okay. But I'll be honest with you, Altanova is kind of a low yield overall. So I guess, especially if you're starting out as a worker empire, it's not super great. Tariff. Tariff does have like some okay lodging, but again, I only really recommend like 1 worker in Tariff because Altanova Mediah as a region, this region is super outdated from the nodes to the monster zones to the quest line and everything in like the terrain itself. It's a super outdated region. Don't really recommend taking too many of these nodes unless you have a lot of extra contribution, which we'll cover later. We talked about Ulukita. Ailton, don't recommend hiring more than 1 worker at Ailton. Don't recommend hiring more than 1 worker in Duvenkroon. Don't recommend more than 1 in Odraxia. In Grana, if you want to hire more than 1, there's a couple nodes, but I'll be honest with you, even in Grana, you really only want 1 worker unless you're going to be doing trading, but that's a different guide for a different time. Trade crate boxing is a totally different way of hiring workers. You're worried about something completely different, hiring those workers. Valencia. You might want some lodging in Valencia, fortunately for you. Okay, so the lodging in Valencia that is really good. Okay, so Valencia, 2-2-2F. This is 2 contribution for 2 lodging slots. Okay, that's the one that you want. It's down here in the bottom down here. And again, this is 1 for 2. Again, you're really just trying to get for 2F right here. You do have to buy a bunch of these houses. So you're going to have to buy a bunch of lodging in Valencia to get the efficient lodging, but it's still the most cost efficient one that you can get. Anytime that you can get 1 contribution for 1 lodging slot, that's really good cost efficiency. You really don't want to be using more than 1 contribution per worker slot in any city. You're on Kato, you don't want more than 1 worker in Kato. You do not want more than 1 worker in Arihaza. You do not want more than 1 worker in Sandgrain. Shikatu, maybe you can make a case for it, but not really. Again, until you start getting more advanced. And as you get more advanced in your worker empire, you're probably going to spend the $2 and not use your contribution because, let's be honest, if you're playing the game really like you're sweating your worker empire, you're probably going to spend the $2 to get the free worker lodging, okay? That's just how it is. But again, the lodging really pertains to people that are new to worker empires that just want to know where the most cost-efficient stuff is. So that's kind of what I'm trying to focus on. Okay, Ilia, don't buy lodging in Ilia. Honestly, just don't buy lodging anywhere else in the game. Okay, except for Ulukita, Land of the Morning Light, Calpheon, Heidel, Velia, and then we talked about Tuscany Farm. Those are basically, and then obviously where we talked about in Valencia. That's it. Those are the only lodgings that you really want to invest into. If you want to buy more lodging in a city, it's not going to be very cost efficient for you. But if you have the contribution to burn and you're a new player and you're really just trying to hire a bunch of workers and maybe you'll figure out the rest later, it's totally fine. Again, just click on the city that you want to buy it in, click on the lodging tab, and then just buy the most efficient one that you can find. Again, 1 contribution per 1 lodging if you can find it is great. Oh, that's shipyard. Whoops. Right there. But see, again, you can see in Altanova, but not very efficient in Altanova. But again, if you're like, okay, well, I want to hire these and then I'll buy the pay to win lodging later, and then I'll be able to pull my contribution out. That's fine too. Just you'll get there when you get there. I'm just trying to show the most efficient ways to do this. Let's talk about the difference between the workers. There are types of workers in BDO. Okay, as a general rule, there are 3 types of workers. There are goblins, humans, and giants. Okay. There are other types of workers in the game that you will have to hire at different regions, but they all relate back to goblins, humans, and giants. Okay, that's just how it works. For example, you'll have to hire Papus and Grana. Those are basically goblins, the goblins of Kamasylvia. Goblin these nuts in your mouth, if you will. And then the Dokebi in Land of the Morning Light are basically goblins. The dwarves of Ulukita are kind of a special case because they land between the goblins and the humans. They don't quite have as much luck as a human and don't work quite as fast as a goblin, but they work faster than a human and they have more luck than a goblin. So they're kind of in the middle. The Dulceway are the humans of Land of the Morning Light. Why we didn't go with the rabbit there, we don't know, because rabbits are lucky. We'll get to that in a second. Giants have Fetus and the turtles. Okay, the Fetus are what you hire in Grana, and then the turtles are hired in Land of the Morning Light, the little Turk guys. Cute little guys, but they're basically giants for all intents and purposes. Okay, the difference between the 3 workers. They've reworked workers a while back. There used to be a very distinct difference between the workers, and I'm going to explain that so that you understand that those differences have been minimized but are still technically there. So I will be honest, if you roll an artisan worker of goblin, human, or giant, you're taking it. It doesn't matter. You get an artisan worker on a contract roll, take it. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, all of the workers essentially, they have close to the same efficiency. If you really want to min-max your worker empire, there's websites that you can go to that will tell you the exact min-max specifications. But again, it's going to be different for you because your workers are going to have different skills than the website can actually like compute. So you're still going to have to be able to do this on your own. I'll tell you, they're close enough now after the rework. It doesn't matter too much, but I will explain the difference to you. As a general rule, goblins have the fastest runtime, and assuming they're working around the clock, will net you the most base resources on the node. The way I'm going to explain this is every single node, well, a lot of the nodes in the game have what we would call a base resource. So like iron, for example, if it's an iron node, that would be the base resource. And there's going to be a lucky resource, okay, which your character or so the base resource, your worker is going to go out. They have a 100% chance to come back with at least some of that base resource every single time they do a rotation on the node. Okay, lucky resources, not so much. The higher luck the higher luck stack your worker has, the higher chance that you have of pulling that back down. Okay, and then there are sacks. Okay, there are worker sacks that all workers bring back no matter what. I'm pretty sure giants bring in the most sacks. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure giants bring in the most sacks. As far as the lucky resource goes, humans bring in the most they have the most luck. They're going to have more lucky stuff. And as far as base resources go, goblins are going to be bringing in the most base resources. Okay. Period. All right. So to give this kind of an example and minimize this, we're going to use Coastal Cliff. Okay. Right here, just outside of Velia, we're going to click on this node right here. This node has iron ore and powder of darkness. Okay, so iron ore would be the base resource. So if I put a goblin on this node, I'm going to be getting more iron ore per day. But you're not going to get as much powder of darkness. Okay, if I put a human on this node, you'll get more powder of darkness, slightly less iron ore though, than if the goblin was put on there. And if you put the giant on there, it will be able to work the longest because it has the longest stamina, big, strong giant, but it works the slowest. Okay, so you're going to get less of both resources, but you get the most sacks. Like, well, what's a sack? There's these worker They're these worker sacks, okay? And you right click these. I'm telling you, these things are kind of giga. These things are kind of giga. All right. So these things give you a crazy amount of resources. And every single time your worker does a rotation on a node, they have a chance to bring back some of these different types of sacks. I'll open some of these for you so that you can see what I mean. Okay, so we're going to pull out some farmer sacks. I'm going to open my inventory. I'm going to right click the farmer sacks. Let's just open 100 of them. Okay. Oh, look at that. I got 100 fruit of nature. That is one of the limiting reagents for alchemy. You can see that's a lot of money that I just pulled out of there. Okay. You get a lot of fruit of nature from these. I don't open the other 533. You get fruit of nature from all of them. If I want to pull out the miner sack, okay, I don't like saying some miner sack. Oh God. Oh God. If there was an O in there, I'm pretty sure Perlibus is getting sued. But that being said, some archaeologist sack, we'll pull that out too. Dodging it, bro. Here's the fisher sack. All right, so there's fisher sack too. But anyway, there's a bunch of different types of sacks. Okay. Yeah. So we'll open these. 500 miner sacks are going to give you different types of the base ores, which are really, really good and very rare. They always sell for really solid amounts of silver. And again, you're getting things like diamond and gold, which is also very valuable. The fisher sacks are going to give you different types of coral, which again is usable for different things on the ocean, building your boats, things like this, and also crafting various crafting recipes in the game as well. People use stuff for that. And then the archaeologist sacks are giving you trace of nature, which is again another thing that you're going to be using in alchemy. So like this is a lot of money that you're going to be pulling down from these sacks. And again, that's why giants ultimately, when it comes down, it's like, well, do I want sacks? Do I want the base resource, or do I want like the hidden, like the lucky resource? Well, that's going to come down to which node you're talking about. But ultimately, I'm going to tell you, you're basically going to be making about the same amount of money regardless. Okay. Like for most people, it's not going to, the difference is not going to matter. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, goblins get you the base resource. Humans get you the lucky resource. And as a general rule, giants are going to get you the most sacks. Okay. It's not to say that humans and goblins don't bring in sacks as much, but again, the giants bring in them. Okay. Okay. So work speed. Goblins work the fastest, but they have the fastest run speed. Humans are in the middle. Giants has the slowest run speed, but carry the most weight. So like, if a goblin and a giant both do one rotation, the giant will bring back more timber than the goblin, but the goblin works faster, so it will get more revolutions over time. Okay. This does not really matter anymore though, because you can have your workers constantly be working around the clock. Once you hire your first worker, in the top left side of your screen, there's going to be a worker icon with a little pickaxe here, otherwise known as the slavery icon. Not really what we call it, but some of us do. You're going to open this up. Okay, and it will list all of your workers in the various cities, what they're doing, what their runtime is, etc., all the stuff that you need in here. Okay, and you'll be able to scroll through all your workers. You can see I have 138 artisan workers. Every single worker has a job in the worker empire. Most of them are all level 40. I do have, I think, 2 or 3 professionals that I had to hire today, but for the most part, I've been building this for a long time. That being said, there are different tabs in this. Okay. So how do you keep your workers working around the clock? Good question. You do not want to just click this little recover icon. That's stupid. Okay. You click recover all like a normal person. You're going to recover everything. And then you're going to hit repeat all. This will keep your workers working around the clock all the time. Okay. And to be clear, as long as you have food in your family inventory for them, the game will continuously feed your workers the food that they need to keep working. Okay, so you don't have to track it anymore. That was a change that came into the game, I think, like 2 years ago now. But this is why the family inventory is important. If you're a new player, you don't know how to unlock family inventory, there's a small little suggested quest that you can do for it. The game should refer it to you. Again, you can look up a guide for that. It's pretty easy. But you unlock it and you put whatever you want to feed your workers with in here. What are you going to feed your workers with? The answer is grilled bird meat every single time. Stupid people feed their workers beer for 2 reasons. Okay. This comes down to the ultimate crafting recipe. If you look at an old worker empire guide, they're going to tell you that you need to use beer to feed your workers. This is not good. Look at 3,050 silver, and it's only going to give your worker 2 stamina. 2 stamina. That's not good. That's not very efficient. Now you look over at grilled bird meat. Okay. Wow, it's actually cheaper per grilled bird meat, and it gives you 3 stamina instead of 2. So you're being way more efficient. Okay, this is because beer is used in the Balenos meal and multiple other cooking recipes where actual cooks on the server need beer, and grilled bird meat uses chicken meat, which really doesn't have any other purpose in the game except to feed your workers. Okay, so like, again, grilled bird meat, the price is always super low. You can make it a lot with various nodes that we're going to cover later. But yeah, you want to use grilled bird meat. Is it worth it to buy the blue stuff? Not really. It's much more expensive, and you're only getting +4 stamina instead of +3. You just want to buy a bunch of green. And again, if you don't know how to set up your cooking, it's no problem. Just buy a bunch of this. You can see 2,000 of this is 6 million. Again, that's going to keep, if you're a new player, you only have like 10, 20 workers, that's going to keep your workers working for like the next month. Okay, you're going to be fine. Now for me, this is a few days worth of, this is just a few days, right? So like I have to buy this a lot more frequently, but my node worker empire is much more efficient. Okay, now let's talk about the worker list again. So now that you know how to feed your workers, there's a lot going on this screen. So let's talk about this a little bit. You can look over at promotion information over here. And if your workers are not all the way leveled up, I'm trying to look for any of my professional workers that maybe have available promotion attempts, but I don't think so. Is a little rough. Yeah, sadly, all of my workers are already promoted. Okay, so every 10 levels, so I just hired these guys today, so they'll be able to be leveled up. Okay, so every 10 levels, every time your worker does a rotation on a node, it levels up. Okay, or it gets a lot of EXP towards the next level. All right, so you want to have your worker do a lot of rotations on a node in order to level it up. If you want to level up your worker really fast, you put it on something that has a really short runtime. Okay, so it's like 26-minute runtime. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That dude will be level 20 in a couple days. You'll be fine. But like if you have a really long runtime, it's going to take forever. Like this guy's a 7-hour, 25-minute runtime. That's not very good. But you know what? He's going to end up getting fired later anyway. Just don't tell him. I just don't care right now. But ultimately, you get 1 promotion attempt every 10 levels. Every time your worker levels up, it has a slightly higher chance to promote to the next level. So if you wait longer, you can save up your promotion attempts. For example, if you get all the way to level 30 on your worker and you have all 3 promotion attempts, your worker will have a higher percentage of getting to artisan when you click promote. Okay, that's just how it works. Now, it's going to take forever for your worker to get to level 30, so that's not how we recommend to do things here in the worker empire. The most efficient way to level up your workers is to let the worker get to level 20 and then try to upgrade it twice. Try to promote it 2 times because it'll have 2 attempts because it's level 20. You try to promote it twice. It's going to take, I think, 8 hours per promotion attempt. It used to be a full day. Now it's only 8 hours, I believe, per promotion attempt in order to upgrade it. If your worker does not actually upgrade, because it's only got a chance to upgrade it, you can only upgrade 1 worker at a time, as far as I'm aware currently. It's been that way for many years. Okay, so you promote 1 worker at a time. If it fails both promos, oh, you can upgrade multiple now. Thank you, chat. Okay. So you can upgrade multiples at a time now. So if you forget to do it for a while, you can just promote them all. Again, that was a change that was brought into the game in the last 3 to 6 months. That's relatively recent. I have not actually used that feature because I never have to upgrade my workers anymore because they're all artisans. But if you forget to upgrade your workers for a while, you can promote them all at the same time. It takes about 8 hours or so. And then you'll open your worker thing. If they're the next grade, essentially this goblin worker will hit level 20. I'll promote him twice. If he actually does manage to go to artisan, he'll start at level 1 again, and I can level him all the way back up. Okay, and that's how that works. If they fail to upgrade, what you're going to do is you're going to walk to this work supervisor thing. Okay, you're going to click worker exchange. You're going to register them to the worker like market and let somebody else buy them. Okay, because they're f***ing idiots. Okay, you don't want stupid people working for you. All right, you only want smart slaves. Okay, only smart slaves. If it's a dumb slave, you go to the slave market and sell it. Okay, you register it here. Okay, and then the other adventurers in the game will buy it from you because they're stupid. All right. Alternatively, you can just fire them, and then you're going to buy another professional worker, and you're going to do it again until it actually gets to the highest level. How do you promote it? Good question. So you come over to this promotion tab. Your worker cannot be working if you're going to promote it. So you'll have to stop the work on whatever node that it happens to be working on when you go to promote it. So I would have to stop this. And if it has an upgrade attempt, it'll say it right here. Okay, it'll say promotion attempts 2 or whatever. And you can just click this this promote button will be enabled when you stop it working. Just click the promote button and it goes. That's it. That's all there is to it. If he doesn't upgrade, you mulch the worker and then you hire another professional. You start again. That's the most efficient way to do it. Okay. Now, there's a lot of other stuff going on this screen, on this worker status screen. So let's talk about that. We talked about recovering your workers. You can give nicknames to your slaves if you want to nickname them, right? So if you want to name all of your friends so that you can keep track of all of your friends and who's working in what city, you can do that here. It's a cool little feature that they added to the game a while ago. I don't really use that very often. But you can also use the change skill function on the right side of your screen here. You click change skill. Now, most players are never going to interact with this change skill function ever. Okay. And I want to be very clear about which skills are the best if you do go to do this. And again, this is why there's going to be timestamps in this guide. So you should know, okay, I don't need to know this. I'm just going to skip this. But if you do want to know, this is the knowledge you need to know. There are 3 different things that you need workers for, typically in BDO: farming, trading, and worker nodes. Also crafting and stuff, but that's going to go along with trading. We'll talk about that in a second. So if you're going to do trade crates and stuff, you're absolutely going to need way different skills for that. Okay. And I'm not going to cover that because trading has been removed from the game, but you're going to need like advanced life clothes production, extra work +3 done for life skilling clothes. That means he crafts life skill clothes like way faster. Then there's also other things where like, if they get lucky, they can proc an extra proc for only using a certain amount of the crafting materials. They can just get an extra one out of thin air. Those are definitely what you want, like the advanced crate packing skill. Let's see if I can find one of those. Yeah, so you see advanced mushroom packing and stuff, right? It's thrifty for less materials used. Yeah, but there's one that gives you like an extra one. It gives you like an extra one for free if you have it. Yeah, who cares? Nobody gives a shit. Trading has been removed from the game anyway, so no one really does trading anymore anyway. Okay, mass production. Yes, mass production. There you go. Okay, so those exist. You're not going to use those. If you're doing a worker empire, and that's what's relevant to this guide, you're going to need one thing, typically, and 2 things. Okay, you need worker speed, and you need luck. Okay, worker speed is the most important in most cases. So anything that gives you move speed is really, really good. Work speed is also obviously really good, so I lumped those in together. There's 2 different things. Work speed and move speed are 2 very different things, but essentially your worker is going to be working faster, okay? But you really want the move speed for a worker empire. Work speed has more to do with crafting. Okay, so if you're using your worker to craft, like outfits or crafting various things, that is useful. Strongly recommend you use the movement speed one though, because that's the one you're going to use most frequently for your nodes. Okay. There's also lucky guy. Again, this increases the luck on your worker. Obviously, really good. There's quick C that increases move speed. That's really good. And again, there's stuff that increases, but you're really looking for move speed. All right, it's move speed and luck. Those are the 2 things that you're looking for every time. You can re-roll skills like I'm about to do right now. So you can click this change skill button on your worker. And if I look at this skill and I say, man, work speed or advanced life skill production, I don't really need that. I can re-roll that skill. And now he's got work speed +2. Like, okay, well, maybe I don't like that very much. Refinery specialty work speed +5. Boom, I can re-roll that. Advanced mushroom packing, somehow more useless. Okay, tool knowledge, absolute garbage. Thrifty! Chance to return 10% of the crafting materials. We don't want that either, but honestly, thrifties can be pretty good. Thrifty can be pretty good. As far as things go, it's like, okay, it's like whatever. Now, I only have 20% left, so I'm actually going to confirm this. It takes 20% EXP for every single roll. Okay, so whatever it says here. So how does your worker get EXP? By just doing rotations on the node. Every single time it does rotation, it gets EXP. Okay. And then you'll be able to change the skills after it gets above at least 20%, and you can roll the skills as many times as you want. So you can min-max your workers in a really big way. You can constantly roll whatever skills you want to, the exact thing that you want every single time. Okay. Blessed Hands is good. Plus 0.2 luck per level. Yeah, that's really good, but you only want to have that when you're leveling up, like chat just said. So that is the skill. I don't know if I have that on any of my... Blessed Hand, right here. This guy right here. You see in the bottom left there, he's got plus 2 luck per leveling up. Well, he's level 40 now, so he's leveled up all the way. You want to try to get Blessed Hands when you get the worker to artisan to begin with. Okay, because then it's just permanently increasing your luck, no matter what, as you level up. Okay, and once it's max level, then you can just roll it to whatever other skill that you want. Okay, this is a Giga skill. That is a S tier skill. But once your worker's level 40, you just dump it. You can get rid of it. So I'll dump it. What is it? This guy that has it? Or is it this guy? It's this guy. So I'll dump it real quick. Quick C, movement speed plus 5. Boom, just made my worker better. Look how easy that was. And you can just go through here. Movement speed plus 6. Holy shit, I'm gaming. Work speed plus 3. Craftsmanship. Boom. Right? So you can just keep doing this. And it's a fun little thing that you can do to kind of min-max your worker empire over time. Okay? But that's what worker skills do and what you're going to need them for in a worker empire. Okay? Again, I'm fairly certain that work speed really only pertains to crafting. Chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So, confirmed, the work speed doesn't help unless you're talking about crafting and potentially farming, which I'm not going to test right now. But movement speed is really good, and luck is really good. So that's really what you're looking for in terms of skills. Okay, we talked about promotions. We talked about skills. Talked about renaming. I think that we're done with this menu. Okay, so we've talked about all that. What's the next thing that we have to talk about? We've talked about setting up the worker empire, the menu, what you feed your workers, how to hire them, where the best lodging is in the game. Now we need to talk about what the best nodes are in the game, and this is the majority of the guide. This is the meat of what people want to see. This is why you guys are here watching this. This is why the people are watching it on YouTube. So now we're going to talk about the best worker, like technically the best nodes in the game. Let me go to the bathroom real quick before I dive into this. We are going to link in the video description. There's got like a couple websites that we will link to that will actually tell you like pound for pound, hey, this is the most cost efficient silver in the game. If you have this type of worker and you're doing this, we'll link those websites in the video description for you so that you know exactly. But you can basically, as a frame of reference, do exactly what I tell you here and you should be fine. All right, there is one more thing that I do want to cover before I start covering the most efficient nodes of the game. And by the way, if you caught that reference, you're goated. The final thing that I want to cover in reference to workers is actually in the top, something that a lot of people ignore and don't even know exists in the game. In the top right of your screen, when you open your map, there's a lot of icons in the top right. Most people never even interact with these icons or know what they do. There's one particular icon called Territory Resource Information. This is going to give you a lot of bars and a lot of graphs. Nothing is explained on this screen. It's okay. Jackie Chan Adventures. Holy crap, bro. Zyber, you're a gamer. Okay, so there are 3 different bars on this screen. You see all these bars all over the place. You're like, what in the holy world is going on right now? There are 3 types of bars on this screen. Okay, there is the gold one. This has to do with investment banking. Okay, we're not going to talk. This is literally how many players have investment banking in that particular city. No one ever does investment banking anymore. People don't even know that it exists anymore. It's definitely not worth it to do. It's ass. So don't do that. The blue one is how many people have residences in that particular city. But we're still not even sure if that's necessarily the case. So that's my best guess on the blue bar. I'll be honest with you. I am guessing on the blue bar. Like it's tough to say because they very rarely, you see like what the, why is the blue bar lower over here? So I could be wrong about the blue bar. We don't know. The blue bar is, it's weird. The blue bar, we're not entirely certain, but usually it sits at basically exactly 100% all the time, no matter what. The green bar is what we're talking about, and that for sure I know what that is and what it does. The green bar is the important one here, And whenever you see the green bar at maximum, you know that nodes in that area are going to be maximally efficient because less people on the server actually have that node. So if you have a contribution and a worker running on a node that has 100% resource information on it, well, your worker will actually bring back more resources from that node than it normally would. Now, that bar could be drained all the way to 0, like you see Coastal Cliff. A lot of players have Coastal Cliff. All right, well, that means actually blue might be fishing. Blue is fishing. I've solved it. It's fishing. Holy shit, I'm gaming. Yo, I'm huge. Anyways, blue is how many adventurers are fishing there and how abundant the resources are at that particular node, or are at that particular area. So Tigris Island, for example, and the areas around it are at 0 because a lot of people fish at Tigris. There's also a lot of people fishing at Hakoven as well, though I don't know. Hakoven, oh, there it is. Yep. Hakoven must pertain to Arihaza over here. So Hakoven must, like, it must be like connected with Arihaza. That's very interesting. So you can actually check at a glance how depleted fishing resources are everywhere in Black Desert. That's actually, we learned something today, chat. That's pretty cool. The reason why this one is only drained half is because a lot of people AFK fish at Sawsons too. Wait, that's so good. Yeah, like legitimately, you know where you can go fish and where it's going to be abundant and where it's going to be depleted. Very cool. Very cool. Didn't realize that before. The green one is what's pertinent to nodes, like I said. So again, you see Coastal Cliff is at 0%. Well, does that mean your worker's not going to bring back anything from the node? Absolutely not. That's not what that means at all. Your worker will bring back a range of things based on what the green bar is. So it will always bring back a minimal amount of stuff, or like a baseline around stuff regardless. If the green bar is full, though, it's at 100%, that means very few other adventurers have that node. And so your worker will be more efficient. Because there are more resources available, your worker will be able to find more resources there, and you will get a certain amount more resources every time your worker goes to that node. Okay, this used to be really obvious with Fountain of Origin, although they've changed it recently. Yeah, so Fountain of Origin, you'll notice... Oh, nope. Fountain of Origin has Trace of Nature. Okay, very few people have this Trace of Nature mithril node. It's not very efficient. It's one of the least efficient Trace of Nature nodes in the entire game. But you'll notice, in terms of contribution investment, it's one of the least efficient. But if you do invest into it, you're going to get more resources because very few adventurers actually have that node. In contrast, if you come over to Glish Ruins and excavate somewhere around... where is it at? Hold on. There's a... yeah, Glish Ruins right here. This is another Trace of Nature node, and a lot of adventurers take this one because it's just south of Heidel. It's very easy contribution-wise to invest into it, so a lot more adventurers are going to have this node. The problem is, look at it. It's at 0. So your worker will bring back less stuff on each run, but, you know, it takes less contribution to invest into it. Just something to bear in mind when you do it. The reason that this is at 36% is because this is one of the only honey nodes in the game, which we're going to talk about. There are more honey nodes now, but this used to be actually the only honey node that people knew how to get at Alejandro Farm. But those are what the 3 bars do on the territory research, and it does have something to do with worker empires, so I figured I'd explain it. Now let's talk about the most efficient nodes in the entire game for each region. I'm going to cover these region by region very specifically so that if you have low amounts of contribution or you're a new player, I'm going to cover them in ways that, like, okay, first you should put your contribution into this region, then you should put your contribution into this region, etc. Okay. And the first region we're actually going to start with is Land of the Morning Light. I have audibled. I believe that this is the best region in the game for a new player for 2 reasons. Number 1, the nodes and the lodging here are extremely cheap. Everything is basically 1 contribution across the board. You're going to get some of the best resources in the game that you can sell straight to the central market, make a lot of money with them. And so just really good cost efficiency in terms of contribution invested. You're also going to do the Land of the Morning Light questline pretty early on in your BDO career. Now, there is one region that is slightly more efficient than this. To note, its name is Ulukita. Sadly, for a new player, you probably won't get to this region until you're at least a couple weeks into the game. You do want to do the Ulukita questline in your suggested tab to get the Ator's Power Stone. If you watch my gear guide, that's what you're going to do the Ulukita questline for. And when you discover Ulukita, you definitely want to invest in this. This is the most efficient, cost-efficient, or most cost efficient region in the game for nodes. Okay, in terms of like contribution invested or profit received, these nodes are very giga. But sadly, new players are probably not going to have that like discovered and ready to go. It's a very high level area, so yeah, new players are probably not going to be doing that. So we're going to stick with Land of the Morning Light first. Okay, you're bald. Thank you. Nodes and LoML. We talked about this. Do not do the Royal Workshop. If you have small amounts of contribution, don't even look at this until you're over 400 contribution and you have more CP than you know what to do with. Okay. You can, however, take full advantage of the fact that Yukjo Street has some of the best lodging in the game. So you can take the lodging in Yukjo, like we talked about before, and then you can assign those workers basically all over Land of the Morning Light. Run distance won't be super great, but the cost efficient contribution wise, it's giga. It's giga. Okay. So that's Land of the Morning Light part 2 though, and you probably won't discover this on your first like run through of Land of the Morning Light. You're probably not going to discover that anyway, so I'm going to stick to the main. Huh? It's the best money per CP for node worker empire at the palace. Okay, so did you listen to what I said? The palace is not cost efficient to run for a new player as far as as far as what they should be investing their contribution points into. You're right, it is the most CP. Like, this is what you should use that contribution for. However, you shouldn't be doing this as a new player. This is not an efficient thing to do. You have to spend a lot of energy to do this. You have to have you have to have a lot of knowledge about the game to get this done and unlock a bunch of stuff with NPCs, a lot of random knowledge there and whatnot. This is not what a new player should be doing, and it's not overwhelming. It's not overwhelmingly efficient, even if you are doing it in the best possible way. So later on, though, yeah, that's the best for the palace. But again, when you're first starting out, yeah, you can use this lodging and kind of assign workers elsewhere. All right. So we talked about lodging here. Let's talk about the nodes that are really good in the first Land of the Morning Light region when you do Land of the Morning Light Part 1. First one is Sangachi Forest. Bracken. Bracken is used in the Duven Kroon meal. Pretty good. It's a knowledge meal. A lot of people need it. It's in relatively high demand. Bracken will sell pretty well. This isn't the highest priority node, but I'll be honest with you, you should have workers to spare and whatnot. So you can throw a worker on this and have it be relatively efficient. The best worker or the best efficiency in the game, and the one that most people are going to have, is Dookshini, or whatever the hell this is called. This is Dokebi Forest. Now, to be clear, you can only put Dokebi workers on Dokebi Forest. Remember, those are the goblin type workers in Land of the Morning Light. Okay. Boom. All right. So, Trace of Nature, Rough Translucent Crystal, Mysterious Powder. What's Mysterious Powder for? Making a Master Matchlock, which you're probably not going to do, but you know what? You've got it anyway. Embers of Hongik, which you're going to need for your flame to make. You're going to need it as a new player. You're going to need it for your flame in order to make your gloves. Okay, your Silent God gloves or whatever the hell that you need. Now, to be clear, you're going to get most of your embers either off the Central Marketplace or like you should buy the flame from the Central Market, from doing the main storyline, whatever. But either way, it still drops here. Forest crystals are the most important thing here because they help make the life skilling crystals. So you can make those and sell them on the marketplace. Those are pretty solid. And again, down here, Crystal of Harmony. Again, those are used to make the ultimate Macalots and the ultimate Hooms and the ultimate Gervish that people love so much. Maybe not so the Gervish, but the Macalots certainly are the best PvE crystals in the game and whatnot. So there's a high demand for this stuff. Dawn gloves go green. Papega. Yeah, it is what it is. So either way, all of this to say, these are very cost efficient nodes, and you're going to want to invest into these early as a new player. Just make sure that you have Dokebi workers in order to do that. Now, to be clear, when you move in here, I don't know why there's like an icon on the Dokebi like jar or whatever, but you can get extra lodging here if you want to. It's just not super efficient. You might as well get your efficient lodging in Nampo Village is where I recommend getting it. Okay. There are some nodes here. Reed is garbage. Don't get Reed. No one gives a shit about Reed. Crystal of Darkness, Crystal of Bitterness, Trace of Nature, Mysterious Powder. Really good node. Can't go wrong. This is Golden Pig Cave. Huge W. Plus, having this node means that in 9 months, when you're finally ready to do this monster zone, you can invest into it. W. Okay? But, like, this is a great node. The Darkness and Bitterness crystals absolutely make some of the better crystals in the game and will sell on the marketplace. If you come down here to Bomnay County, W node, this one's really easy to take. Pine sap. Anytime you see sap in BDO, you should be thinking alchemy. because typically saps are used for alchemy. Interestingly enough, actually, pine sap is also used to make fishing boats, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay, pine sap is used in several alchemy recipes. Well, actually, it's only 1 or 2 alchemy recipes, and then to make fishing boats, which people need on a regular basis and whatnot. So that is really, really good. Pine timber also sells on the marketplace no matter what. So there's always demand for that stuff because players that do trade crates and things buy them in mass. So you'll always be able to sell your timber on the marketplace. Timber is always a very good resource to be bringing in, kind of regardless of what timber it is. There are better timbers than others, like fir timber and cedar timber are very good. They help make the Calpheon timber crates. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to worry about it. Again, it's another pine timber, pine sap node. And then bracken, like I said, that's used to make the Drieghan meal. The demand for bracken is not like insane. And obviously the results will vary. It used to be much higher. But again, yeah, it will still sell. It will still sell. It's kind of in the middle right now. It's a little bit lower. Less people are making the Drieghanese meal. It spikes really hard when new regions come out and people need knowledge for stuff because it's kind of a knowledge-based meal. But yeah, let's move up here to Bari Forest. Cedar timber, spirits leaf. Cedar timber always sells. It's a great, yeah, you can list that stuff at max price. It will always sell. It'll always sell. Spirits leaf is also an alchemy, like limiting reagent in alchemy. That will always sell too. Really good. So annoying. There's only 1 ash sap node. Well, I think there's 2 now, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so Crystal of Decimation. Again, makes the Decimation Crystal. These are a back attack crystal in PvE. You're going to need these as a new player. You're going to want 2 of these yourself. Just make sure you don't die and lose them. Or you can sell them on the marketplace too. That's fine. But they are kind of costly to make. But you need the Crystal of Decimation in order to make them. So I recommend getting this one as one of your first nodes invested. And to be clear, if you're a new player and you're watching this, you should be able to get all of these nodes that I'm going through here. The lumbering node here, again, you have maple sap. You should immediately be thinking alchemy. Old tree bark is also alchemy, although it doesn't sell for nearly as much as it used to. It's also used in certain ship requirements for like sailing content as well, but not in like a crazy amount of numbers that a lot of people are going to need them, especially since you can buy carrots from the market nowadays. The demand for that has kind of gone down significantly. Maple timber will always sell because, again, the traders on the server thank you kindly for selling that basically at base. Now you're wondering, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking, should I be processing these materials when they come in? No. Most of the time, you don't want to waste your time. You should be AFK fishing, especially if you're a new player. You should be just AFK fishing, sell the mats raw to the marketplace. Believe me, they will typically, you lose money if you process them, especially if you have a low processing level, you have a low mastery level, and all that stuff is really processing level that matters. You're gonna grief yourself. You just sell all of the mats at base, and some really high level trader, some really high level processor will come along with their processing stone. They'll buy up all your materials for maximum price, and then they will be able to flip it for much better and more efficient money for them. For you, it's going to take up all of your AFK time, which as a new player is extremely precious. You really don't want to be using that. If you're a veteran player and have a lot of life skilling gear, well then yeah, you can process it all if you have enough mastery to do that. Okay. Except doing region timber crates. No, you should never be doing region timber crates as a new player. You're fucking griefing yourself. Unless you're really that into trading, in which case go nuts with it. I had to make another guide for that though. But like for the most part, you really don't want to do that. It's not very efficient at all. It used to be one of the best things in the game about 8 years ago, but nowadays you don't really want to do that. The only people that do that are mentally ill degenerates that are still caught up in 2017. The traders that have massively high trading levels and are trying to pump their trading level as hard as they can and then make like pennies on the dollar doing it. Those people are insane. And I give them credit where credit's due, but I'm not going to recommend that you do that as a new player. Okay. Okay, so those are all the nodes I think that we went through in Land of the Morning Light Part 1. On this left side of your screen, as you do Land of the Morning Light Part 2, you're going to open up more of the map. There's some actually really good nodes that you can get in Godu Village. The rice is not bad. You don't want to go crazy with it. Radishes you don't really need. Napa cabbage. Rice is good. You can have like 1 rice node. It'll help you. It's used in the Royal Palace, and for like 1 or 2 recipes, it's still not going to sell very well. Don't necessarily recommend it. The only reason I have it is for the Royal Palace, so you don't necessarily want to do that. If you come down here to Doom Ridges, here's the pine sap node. Anytime you see pine sap, you should be like, golly gee whiz, I want that node, because sap is really, really good in alchemy, and you can sell it to those people at a very high price. Pine timber, again, like I said, always sells, so you can't go wrong with that. That's a great node right there. If you come up here to Unjonga Street, birch timber, birch sap. Again, birch sap is used in 1 or 2 alchemy recipes in the game. Birch timber, not the best timber in the game, but still will sell at a very consistent price. So this is a great node, and it certainly requires less contribution than that pine node we just talked about down below. But that's a great node as well for you to potentially take there. Anyway, those are the nodes that I take in the left or in the westmost part of Land of the Morning Light Part 2. Don't necessarily recommend taking any other nodes in Land of the Morning Light, but this should get you started. That's a lot of nodes and a lot of workers to have to hire right off the rip. Okay. So there are more Land of the Morning Light nodes up here. I have not unlocked them because I just don't give a enough to unlock Land of the Morning Light Part 2. Let me look at these very quickly. 1. Lumbering. Okay, fir timber, fir sap. This is really good. Dongmakgul Village. This is a really good node. This should only require 2 contribution to get to. As a new player, you should have a ton of extra workers in Yukjo Street because, again, the most cost-efficient worker housing in the game, and you're not going to do the Royal Palace, so screw it. But the fir timber is giga. Zinc, platinum, and powder of time. Absolute giga. This is super good. Dungri Yong Cave. This is very, very good. And again, zinc, platinum, and powder of time. Yeah, these are S tier nodes for Land of the Morning Light Part 2. But most new players are not going to have Land of the Morning Light Part 2 unlocked. So just bear in mind, it's going to be a while before you probably go up here to unlock this. I look over here. This is only 2 contribution. What is this giving me? Rough translucent crystal and trace of nature. Okay, sure. That's pretty good. Rough translucent crystal and trace of nature from Mount Ayashi. Okay, sure. That's, again, this is a little bit further away. It's going to require 2 more contribution than this one, and it's going to give the exact same thing. Not necessarily required. If you have extra contribution to spare, then okay. Motgul Village is going to give you iron. No, that one's not. Iron ore, rough black crystal, powder of darkness. You can get this from way more efficient. Technically, you could hire a worker from Bukpu Street. And this is a solid node, but first let me check these because these are probably better. Yes, they are. Maple timber, maple sap, old tree bark. And yeah, these 2 nodes are going to be better typically than this one is. Powder of darkness could be useful, but like it's just... Yeah, I think that the maple timber is usually what you want to grab here. So if you're going to hire a worker in Bukbo, again, you can either throw them out to the excavating nodes if you want to add a little bit on here and get the trace of nature and the rough translucent crystal, or you can come over, and my recommendation is get grab those maple nodes right there. Did I cover all these? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, that's S tier. This is really good. This is a 2 contribution opal node. It is not, now to be clear, opal is not the primary resource on this node, so this looks a lot better than it actually is. Copper is the primary resource you will obtain from this node. You'll need luck in order to obtain the opal and the powder of flame. The opal and the powder of flame are where the honestly, the copper is where you're going to get most of the money, but the opal and the powder of flame are also really good. This is a great node. This is a great node. 2 contribution for a node like that is absolutely giga. So in my opinion, if you have Yukjo Street, you should have about 10 or 11 workers available. You should take all 3 of these nodes over here. Plus this one is 4. Down to Anjana Street is 5. Up here is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you can basically take every single node around here. Also, Wojin Palace, the fir timber and the spirit's leaf is still really good. Although this is the last priority. You don't necessarily need that node. This one out here, though, this is actually even higher priority than that one. You just skip right over that. Come to this one. Zinc, platinum, and powder of time. Giga node. Giga node. Platinum ore, it's probably not going to bring in very much platinum. But platinum always sells at maximum price for the most part because there's such a high demand for it. And powder of time will always sell as well. And obviously zinc is always going to sell at a giga price. So this is really, really good. Viola is garbage. Don't bother with that. Copper, opal, and powder of flame is pretty solid. But again, you're only going to reach out here if you happen to have the extra contribution to do so. But yeah, everything around this palace is going to be really, really solid in terms of overall contribution efficiency. Once you uncover Yukjo Street, I don't recommend getting the Royal Palace until much later into the game. And then just put all the workers to work on all these nodes. You'll make more silver per hour AFK just doing that. But thank you, chat. That was really good. All right, we're going to talk about Ulukita. This is the next most efficient contribution point region in the game. And this is the next point that you should be focused most on as a new player once you unlock this. So like you should be working to unlock the Land of the Morning Light nodes as you go as a new player. But once you get down to Ulukita, you should be reaching this around the time that you're maxing out your Land of the Morning Light nodes and you're ready to expand your worker empire further. You should be doing the Ulukita questline in order to get the Ator's Power Stone, which is a phenomenal early game alchemy stone. It gives you 1 sheet AP. It's great stats, really easy to repair on repeat. So just a great stone for new players. So you're going to end up doing that. And around that time, you're going to want to unlock all of these different nodes. We're going to go through these one at a time. Let's talk about Neruda Plain. Acacia Timber, Acacia Sap, Monk's Branch. Monk's Branch and Acacia Sap. Well, Monk's Branch is used in alchemy all the time. Huge demand for tons of... You need thousands of Monk's Branch if you want to make high-end elixirs in any amount of quantity in alchemy. So there's always a demand for Monk's Branch. That's really good. The primary resource on the node, like the base resource, is Acacia Timber. Acacia Timber doesn't have too many uses in Black Desert, but again, the traders will buy it from you and they'll trade it up and use it for trading, so you don't have to worry about that. Acacia Sap doesn't have too many uses in the game either. Maybe one alchemy recipe, but particularly it's used for boat stuff. Acacia Sap is okay. It will sell on the central marketplace. I'm not sure where it's at right now. It probably took a hit. Yeah, it took a hit really hard when the boats became sellable on the central marketplace. You can see the prices kind of dipped pretty hard but it still sells really well because there's still a demand there for it elsewhere in the game. But again, saps are always going to be pretty solid across the board. If we look across over to a Teshara, you're going to find iron ore and rough blue crystal. You're also going to find copper ore and rough translucent crystal. I'm going to explain very quickly the difference between ores in the game, because there are various different ores in the game that have increasing value. The lowest value, like the common ores, we'll call them the common ores. Okay, the common ores are like copper, iron, lead. Okay, that's like the uncommon ores. Okay, these are going to sell for more than copper, iron, lead, but they're going to require you to invest more contribution to get to those nodes. All right, so just because ores are common doesn't mean they're not going to make you a lot of money. All right, doesn't mean they're not going to make you a lot of money. Copper, iron, and lead ores are money. Okay, you can sell these and people will process them into other mats. There is massive demand all over different types of the game for copper, for iron, for lead. Okay, no, you're not going to be making as much as uncommon ores, but just because you're like, oh, it's copper node, I don't really need that. Copper's actually pretty good, and it is a pretty solid money sink or like money grabber for you. So is iron. Lead less so. Lead has a lot less of a demand. Just lead ingots are just less useful. Copper and iron help make things like brass and steel and whatnot. So like people need those for various things in the game. Uncommon ores, zinc, tin, knock, and nickel. These are typically the highest value in terms of like contribution invested to money earned. Zinc, tin, knock, and nickel are incredibly good value for contribution to money earned if you're just going to flip it on the central marketplace. I can't tell you how much money I've made from selling zinc, tin, knock, and nickel. Especially knock always sells at max price consistently. There's a massive demand for it for a number of different reasons, but knock ore is extremely, extremely good. And there's only like 2 nodes in the game that can actually give it to you. So there's also obsidian. I don't know if you necessarily count that as a node, but I'm going to put it on here. Rare ores. Now, this is where things get a little dicey. The rare ores are not always going to be very cost efficient to grab. For example, platinum nodes in Altanova are not very good, but you do what you got to do to get platinum. At the end of the day, they're some of the only platinum nodes in the game. So like you're going to invest a lot of contribution. You're not going to get a crazy amount of platinum out of it. But if you need platinum, that's kind of the only way to get it unless you want to buy it off the marketplace. Titanium and vanadium are kind of an exception to this rule. Those are very, very efficient in Valencia because not very many people have those nodes. Okay. Mythic ores. Mithril. You will never get enough mithril. You'll never have enough. I highly recommend if you need mithril, there's only one thing in the game you need mithril for. One. and it's to make Krogdalo horse gear. It's the best in slot horse gear in the game. You need mythic or like you need mithril ingots in order to craft your Krogdalo gear, and that's like a one-time, very specific use, but everybody needs it. So like, you can take mithril nodes, but you're not going to get very much of it. And then when you go to process it, you need to make sure that you have a very high processing level so that you don't grief yourself. I strongly recommend just putting orders down on the market and just waiting for it in most cases. And then Obsidian only has one node in the game. I don't know if you necessarily consider this an ore, but it's actually in relatively high demand. It's used for various... I forget what Obsidian is actually used for, but I sell the crud out of it. It sells very consistently because nobody has the node. But if you watch this guide, you'll understand what the node is. It's a crystal. Yep, there you go. Okay, so now all of that to say, here is our ores. Okay, we finally landed on our ore. Iron ore and copper. Okay, pretty solid. We talk about rough and rough blue crystal, rough translucent crystal, rough red crystal, whatever. The rough crystals in the game are very good secondary resources. Okay, very, very solid secondary resources. They will always sell, with the exception of, I think, black translucent or black crystals, like rough black crystal. Doesn't sell super well anymore. It used to be used to craft Grunil back in the day, if you remember how to do that. Nobody really does that anymore, and it has like decreasing uses over time. The rest of the translucent crystals, or the rest of the rough crystals, definitely have purposes, so you definitely want to use those. We've already gone over this one. Let's go over here to Tungrad Ruins. Trace of Nature, rough translucent crystal. Trace of Nature is one of the limiting reagents in a lot of alchemy recipes. Always has a high demand, will always sell in the central market. Rough translucent crystal as well, as we talked about. And again, there's the blue translucent crystal. You can check the marketplace in your particular region, or if you're watching this on console. Honestly, if you're watching this on console, you're skipping this section because you don't have Ulukita yet. I'm so sorry. Anyway, okay, come down to Shakhtar Wilds. Birch and birch sap. Birch timber, birch sap. W. Can't go wrong. Easy win. We talked about that. Pine timber, pine sap, spirit leaf. Even better. W node. Really good. Shakhtar Wilds is an incredibly good node. Stoff beer, acacia timber, acacia sap, and monk's branch. We've talked about all three of these. I'm not going to cover it again. Very, very good, efficient node. I'm going to save you the trouble. Every single node in Ulukita is super efficient in order to grab. Okay. Super efficient. I would say white cedar timber, white cedar sap, and bloody tree knot. If you need to skip on a node, this is probably the one. Okay, so if you're on Yazrid Highlands, that one's not very good. Cedar timber, cedar sap. Cedar sap always sells at basically max price because there are very specific alchemy recipes in the game that require 7 of it to make 1 elixir, or to make 1 make of that elixir. So for a high, and it's used for grinding, it's used for PvP, it's used for all kinds of stuff. Like, everybody needs cedar sap all the time. It's a phenomenal node. And obviously cedar timber is a sought after timber as well. City of the Dead. Birch timber, birch sap. Can't go wrong. Easy dubs right there. Darkseeker's Retreat. Iron ore, powder of darkness. Powder of darkness is used to great extent in a lot of alchemy recipes, particularly spirit perfume elixir is one that just basically... There are a lot of alchemists on the server that make a spirit perfume elixir around the clock. One of their limiting reagents is powder of darkness, so they will just buy it off the marketplace in bulk. So yeah, there will always be a demand for that. And then it's used in several other alchemy recipes as well, but particularly it's 10 per make for spirit perfume elixir. It's kind of a lot. Rough black crystal, we talked about that. That's not super great, but you know what? It is what it is. It'll sell regardless. Okay. All right, I think we got through all of the nodes in Ulukita. Good shit. Next most efficient place to have nodes, Balenos. All right, now let's talk about Balenos. Balenos, what do you want to take? Everything. When do we want it? Now. All right. Not everything, but almost everything. Okay. If you don't have a lot of contribution, I'll cover the ones that you absolutely should take first. Bartali Farm, probably the one that you want, because you can get a potato node here. Potato helps you make beer. Beer can be sold on the central marketplace. Potato is just used. Potato, wheat, barley, corn, any of the grains are used to make beer and will always sell because the cooks on the server can never... They will outproduce themselves on grain every time. So if there's some life skillers on the server that cook a lot, they're going to be buying this stuff en masse all the time to keep up with their production in terms of like their cooking, you can sell that to them. So it's very good. Alternatively, you can use it yourself and make beer. But again, you're not going to feed your workers from that. Speaking of feeding your workers, this is where you're going to get chicken meat. Chicken meat, again, the only purpose is to feed your workers. This is an important node to have as a new player. If you want to be self-sufficient with your worker empire and not buy grilled bird meat off the marketplace, you need to have this node or the other chicken meat node in Valia. There are 2 or 3 other chicken meat nodes in the game, but honestly, these are going to be the easy ones for new players to pick up. Eggs are also super useful for several recipes in the game, particularly some of the regional meals use a lot of eggs. I think maybe it's the Mediah meal. I forget which one exactly requires like a gajillion eggs, but like eggs will always sell. Always sell. Okay, Finto Farm, chicken meat and eggs again. We talked about this. Easy W. Potatoes again. Oh my god, what a great node this is. Grab that one. Logia Farm. This one is the less important. Not as good, because it only gives you potatoes. But you know what? Still really good. 2 contribution for some potato. It will always sell really well. Excellent. Also, Coastal Cave. Excellent as well. Iron ore, Powder of Darkness. Copper ore, Powder of Flame. All of that will sell. Powder of Flame probably at the lowest. But yeah, all of that sells no problem on the marketplace. Very cost efficient in terms of efficiency that you can sell. Here we have our first you're not going to take it kind of node. Ash Timber, Ash Sap. This is a giga node in terms of like if you're doing alchemy or you're making any sort of elixirs. Ash Sap is super hard to come by in Black Desert Online, like really hard. This node happens to give it to you, and it only requires like 3 contribution. Guess what? Everybody has it. It's a super common node that people actually have. Okay, so you need to take this node. Everything will sell from it. I'll be honest with you, Ash Timber does not sell very well. In terms of the timbers, I would say it's probably 2nd or 3rd from the bottom in terms of how it sells. Either way, it'll still sell. It'll still go. It's just not as great. It's the Ash Sap that you take this for. But remember, we talked about the different types of workers before. Because you're not as concerned about the Ash Timber in this case, and you are concerned about the Ash Sap, this is a node that you really want to have a human on, because although he's not getting as much timber as maybe a goblin is, he is going to pull down more sap because that's the lucky resource on the node. Okay, so like that's an example of where a human actually probably is a better choice there. Goblin. Okay, so oh yeah, we didn't talk about this. Fortune teller mushrooms. I'm gonna save you the trouble if you're a new player. No mushrooms. Mushrooms are butt. They are absolute butt. Even alchemists don't get mushrooms from their node worker empire. They just buy them off the central market. These things, even when they sell at maximum possible price, they're still like garbage. Like and a lot of the mushrooms are maxed out at max. So the only reason that you would ever take these is if you're an alchemist and you need fortune teller mushrooms, and for some reason on your region you can't get them off the marketplace, because again, even when they're maxed out at max price, you're just not making any money. Like you're not making any money off of them. And unless you're making the fortune tellers readily into elixirs for alchemy, you're really not going to use it. So I don't recommend using mushrooms. There's only one type of mushroom that is good in the game, and chat has already said it. That's truffle mushrooms. You cannot get truffle mushrooms from nodes, so don't even bother. Another good thing to never do is to take sunrise herb. Sunrise herb, these are not efficient. It doesn't sell super well, and even when it does sell, you're talking about pennies on the dollar. It's a pain in the ass to sell. You end up with millions of it in your storage. You just can't flip it fast enough. It's very frustrating. Don't recommend saying it or selling it. You just buy it when you need it. Sunrise herb, to be clear, is used to make when you're leveling up your alchemy and you're getting off the ground. Sunrise herb is used to make it's either pure white powder or the clear like liquid reagent. It's one of the two of those, and you're going to spam that a lot, but you just buy that off the marketplace. I don't recommend taking the node so that you can have that when you go to level up your alchemy. Okay, talked about Bartali. Let's talk about Balenos Forest again. Sunrise herb, don't want that. Ash Timber, Spirit's Leaf. This is not a priority node. This is not a very good node. You only take this if you have a lot of contribution available. It's like whatever. It's like a whatever node. Just throw it on there. Usually I have a worker from Heidel coming over here. You are stressed on workers in Velia. You do not have a lot of worker space in Velia to be able to work with. Okay, so like usually you have excess workers in Heidel because of the lodging situation that we talked about before. You got a lot of extra workers in Heidel. They'll come right over the mountains and work Balenos Forest here. Okay. Goblin Cave. Ash Forest Spirit Sleeve, or Ash Timber Spirit Sleeve. Not something you want to do unless you have extra Heidel workers, in which case it's an okay node. This is the more important one. Copper ore and rough translucent crystal, obviously the priority here. Corn. Terrible nodes. Tuscany Farm. The best thing Tuscany is used for is nothing. You're just connecting it to other things. Okay. Corn is basically useless. For whatever reason, these corn nodes are super inefficient grain-wise. I don't know what it is. The potato nodes pull down like 3 times as many potatoes as the corn nodes. I understand the run distance is a lot shorter, but like, bro, it should not make this much of a difference. The corn is just not, bro. Like, I go to my corn. I do have, you know, like 50,000 corn, you know, 70, 80,000 corn. I haven't sold it in a while. I think I sold all my potatoes because I can sell potato way more frequently. Yeah, look how many more potatoes I had. This is stupid, bro. I just have a dumb amount more potatoes all the time. All the time. And I sell potatoes way more frequently. So don't recommend getting corn unless you're going to run the workers from Heidel or even Olvia. If you have extra workers in Olvia, sure, but these are not a priority unless you have extra workers to kind of put to work, in which case corn will absolutely sell and it's doable. If you go to Forest of Seclusion, Maple Timber Monk's Branch, this is a great high value node. Maple Timber will always sell, although it's kind of middle to low in terms of like the value when you compare it to cedar or fir timber. Monk's Branch, like I said, is always super valuable, and there's always the demand there for it. Copper ore is always going to be really good. Powder of Flame usually sells for close to min price, but it's still valuable to alchemists, and there will always be a demand there. Here's the fabled Ancient Stone Chamber. Also has gold on this one as well. All of the excavation nodes, I guess, in the game have been changed to gold. Trace of Nature, Trace of Nature. Yeah, I guess that's how that works. So, like, yeah, that's why there's a surplus of gold all over the place. Is a lot of adventurers don't need the gold, and so they sell it, but they keep the Trace of Nature. You get this node for the Trace of Nature, which you can also sell and is extremely valuable to adventurers all around the server. Okay, like this stuff is used in tons of alchemy recipes. You cannot go wrong. But the gold ore, again, you can sell that too. You don't really need gold for a whole lot. And again, you can run Heidel workers for any of these nodes along the mountains here. You can run Heidel workers for these. You just need to connect Heidel Pass in order to connect the node. Imp Cave, not a very high priority node. Copper Powder of Flame, whatever. Copper Powder of Flame, whatever. I have this because I have a lot of extra contribution. I have extra workers to spare running from Heidel. Screw it, we've got it. Coastal Cliff, Iron Ore, Powder of Darkness, much higher priority. This is definitely one of the nodes that I would have it if I was a new player. Both of those will sell at really solid prices. Wolf Hills, terrible node. Don't even bother. The only reason I have Wolf Hills, and to be honest with you, Wolf Hills is not as efficient as its counterpart up here at Costa Farm, but like it is just ash timber, which again doesn't sell for super well. It's like okay, it's okay if you have extra workers in Olvia, go nuts. Sure, you can throw it on there. It's reasonable. Up here you have Costa Farm. You're wondering, why do you have a grape node? Grape counts as a fruit in Black Desert Online's recipes for cooking. And you can substitute anything you want in there. But I would tell you right now, what you do is you take the grape node and then you sell all of the grapes. And then there's a vendor in Calpheon, which will sell you, I think it's apples. There's like the seed vendor or whatever in Calpheon will send you or sell you apples. And you can just use that as a fruit instead. No problem. Or is it strawberries? Whatever. Sells you, it's a substitute for strawberry and vinegar. Yeah, exactly. Because it's a fruit. But like either way, you can buy fruit in unlimited supply from the vendor in Calpheon for cheaper than you can sell the grape for on the marketplace. So you sell the grape on the marketplace, use the proceeds to buy the group, buy it from the vendor in Calpheon, and you're good to go. Okay. All right. There's also an olive node in stuff. Yeah. Nobody cares. Don't even look at that node. It doesn't exist. All right. I think we blasted through all of Balenos. So that's Balenos. Okay. I have no fishing nodes in Balenos. Fishing nodes are terrible in Black Desert Online. If you're wondering why I have these connected the way that I do, it's because I have a worker in Ilia that I like to put to work on the mainland. And so my Ilia worker is currently working over here. The reason I have an Ilia worker is because you get a free worker at every city. Screw it. And I have contribution to burn, so it is what it is. And I use that Ilia worker to basically make my blue gear for my Carrack. Every time I need to do that, the Chiro's workshop is here. That's what I use him for normally. But again, he just kind of works on the mainland when I need it. All right, now we're going to do Serendia. All right. Very important to note, and I should have included this earlier. If you want to run workers from other cities, like I talked about running Heidel workers to Velia, all you got to do is connect them. You just need to make sure that the nodes are connected, and you can run workers from wherever you want. Theoretically speaking, as long as I've got it connected, I can run a Trent worker all the way out here to Gavinia Greater Crater to go get some titanium. You know what I mean? Like, I can technically do that. The run distance is going to be total, but you can technically do that as long as the nodes are connected the whole way down. So you need to be mindful of run distance and where you're running stuff through. Heidel is going to have a lot of excess workers. We're going to talk about the good nodes around Serendia that you need to grab. The first one is Glish Ruins. Glish Ruins is really good. It's going to give you platinum, which is much more valuable than gold. And that's why, again, this is, of all of the excavation nodes, platinum with Trace of Nature, you want all of the things on this. Now, to be clear, it's not going to be giving you a crazy amount of platinum, but it's still more valuable than gold is basically every single time. So Glish Ruins is super good. It does require you to invest a little bit of contribution to get down to it here. The closest nodes to Heidel that you're going to worry about, Alejandro Farm. Cooking honey, this is used in cooking recipes. There's only, I think, 2 or 3 cooking nodes in the entire game that give you cooking honey. This is no longer the best one in the game because everybody knows about it. And so it's not as efficient as maybe the other node in Ailton or Mountain of Eternal Winter. But hey, you know, what are you going to do? Pumpkin is really good because it is a vegetable in BDO. Now, to be clear, you can buy vegetables in mass from the vendor in Calpheon called paprika, I believe, is the vegetable that you buy there. But having the pumpkin nodes will save you a significant amount of silver because the pumpkin nodes are pretty efficient. Count as a vegetable, and they'll bring in a ton of pumpkins. Yeah, ton of pumpkins. All right, so let's talk about Lynch Ranch right here. This is the only fleece and knitting yarn node in the game. This is a super high priority node. If you're running out of Heidel, you should have the extra workers to spare if you took all the free-to-play lodging over there. This is a super high quality node, mainly because fleece is used to level up processing. It's used for several clothing, like crafting ingredients as well. People need this stuff all the time. Do not process the fleece. You need to sell it at base. Otherwise, you're basically going to be griefing your money. It's not going to sell as well. The more you process it, it will sell less and less well. Coming down to the northern plane of Serendia, you have maple timber, a red tree lump, not a very high priority node. Do not prioritize this unless you have extra contribution and workers. Lynch Farm Ruins, we talked about. S tier node, very good. We talked about Alejandro Farm already. Let's look at Northern Heidel Quarry. Both of these S tier nodes. Iron ore, powder of darkness. Copper ore, powder of flame. It's like, oh, well, they're really easy to get. Yes, but they're also really high value in terms of money. Copper and iron always sell. So does powder of flame and powder of darkness. Yeah, it might be at min price for powder of flame, but you know what? It still sells because alchemists need it, and they need it way more than you do. So they're absolutely going to buy it. You look to the south of Heidel down here. You're looking at Moretti Plantation. You're going to get wheat and flax. Flax is not a priority node. This used to be a lot better about 6 or 7 years ago. You really don't want flax unless you just have the extra Heidel workers, in which case you can throw it on flax and sell the flax as you need to. It's really, flax is only used for certain crafting recipes, and it's really used kind of to level people's processing. That's it. So you really don't want to process it. You want to sell it. Wheat, obviously, we talked about it, makes beer, is really good. The grains are really solid. Pumpkin and wheat here. Again, the pumpkin node is the priority in my opinion. It sells better for cooks on the server and counts as a vegetable. You need tons of pickled vegetables. For those people leveling up their cooking, pickled vegetable is the go-to for their Imperial turn-ins. It's the go-to for leveling up cooking. People love pickled vegetables. If they're not doing Guru box turn-ins, really low effort box turn-ins, and they need tremendous amounts of vegetables to do so, they will always buy your pumpkins. The value is always there for that node. We talked about Glish Ruins. I'll come down to Serendia Shrine. Pine Timber, Monk's Branch. You should run this worker from Glish. It's really, really good. Monk's Branch, again, you really want to be running like a human worker on this, if at all possible, because the Monk's Branch is the value there, although the Pine Timber will absolutely sell. Let's talk about Castle Ruins, a long forgotten grind zone. The Maple Sap here is super valuable. The Maple Timber, not so much. Again, you want to be running a human on this node, if at all possible, mainly because, again, the luck there is going to help you get that maple sap in a really solid way. Northern Plain of Serendia. Again, you're going to have Silver Azalea. It's the same thing as the Sunshine Herb or Sunrise Herb or whatever. Don't take that. Don't need it. Never gonna be able to sell it all. It comes in such a quantity, you're never going to be able to get rid of it. Again, we talked about how that node is not super worthwhile. I connect Calpheon by just investing in Brady Fortress from here, though. Okay, if we look over at Kamasylvia Temple, you can take the Flax node here. Again, we talked about how mushrooms aren't worth it. You don't want to grab those. But Kama Temple helps me, basically, since I already have Castle Ruins, it helps me connect Heidel with Altanova, which helps me basically run Heidel nodes, Heidel workers to Ancient Fisher. And now that we're over in Altanova, I'm going to tell you right now, this is the worst node efficiency in the game. These nodes have not been reworked in a long time. They are wildly inefficient. They are not very good. And the worker, like in terms of like worker efficiency for contribution for lodging is also not very good. Everything about Mediah is super outdated and needs to be updated. But for now, if you do insist on like hiring the Tariff worker or hiring the Altanova worker, honestly, I would recommend sending them down to Ulukita. If you're new to it, just connect Ulukita to Asper Khan, and then just run the workers from Altanova and Tariff down into Ulukita, and then don't worry about the rest of these nodes, okay? But if you are going to invest in Altanova and Tariff workers, again, Abandoned Iron Mine, not a bad choice. Zinc and Platinum ore, this one is the priority on Abandoned Iron Mine here. Iron ore, Rough Black Crystal is complete dog shit now. Well, it's not complete dog shit, but it doesn't sell nearly as well as it used to. Powder of Darkness, because it makes Grunel. Nobody cares. Powder of Darkness is super useful, like I said before, so that node definitely does have some value. The best nodes in Altanova are honestly the cotton nodes in most cases. Actually, the cinnamon node is one of the highest value nodes in the game because it makes carrot confit, or whatever. And you need this to do one of your weeklies for the T10s. You can turn it in to get a mythical horse feather or whatever the hell, like the feathers or whatever the hell. And so people are making this all the time. It requires a lot of cinnamon. This is the only cinnamon node in the game that I am aware of currently. Definitely a super good node. The cotton node right next to it is super, super good as well. Very high value. So if you have small amounts of contribution, this is where you kind of want to be running your workers out from Altanova and Tariff. Otto Farm, again, cotton, super great. Go have your... Never mind. I was going to make a joke. Never mind. Your workers are going to go pick a lot of cotton, and that cotton is really valuable. Definitely workers is the word that I was going to use there. Omer Lava Cave is going to be coal and rough ruby. To be clear, this is the only way to get rough ruby in the game that I am aware of. Okay. Slaves is crazy. Well, your workers are basically slaves. You're not paying them, except you're feeding them. That's about it. Okay, that's just the way that it goes. All right, it is what it is. Rough ruby, this is the only way to really get rough ruby in the game consistently from a node. So if you really need rough ruby for one reason or another, there's several reasons that you might need it, whether to combine it with a lot of people need it to combine it with coral is one of the primary uses for it, but there's various uses for ruby in the game. This is how you get it. Coal will always sell, so will the powder of rift, but it's kind of low priority. Zinc and platinum again are also really, really good, and powder of time, that node's good, but again, it's really expensive. If you want to come up and really invest into the Mediah nodes here, you've got Rough Opal, Trace of Nature, Trace of Nature. This is Ancient Ruins excavation site. Again, you need to discover this. You have to go to the node manager and talk to them and get the knowledge on it, and then you'll be able to put a worker on here. Really good. Rough Opal always sells really well because of its demand on the marketplace. Ancient Fisher, same thing. Zinc ore, always going to sell. Rough Red Crystal, Powder of Time, S tier stuff. Really good, but unfortunately requires a lot of contribution. Highly recommend running a worker from Heidel, though, if you're going to do Ancient Fisher. In fact, if you're going to take most of these nodes, take the extra workers from Heidel and just have them cheat over because their run distance is pretty short and they can handle these nodes. If you do want to invest more into Mediah, there are some nodes up here like Stonetail Wasteland. Here's your Acacia Timber, Acacia Sap, although I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to be worth it anymore because the best Acacia Sap nodes in the game, as we discussed, are in Ulukita now. So not nearly as good. Up here at Mediah Northern Highlands, you have White Cedar Timber, White Cedar Sap, Old Tree Bark. If you have 450 contribution, you come up here and grab this. Again, because the sap of the Old Tree Bark. Okay, yeah, these are pretty solid nodes. They require so much contribution to get up there. It's pretty crappy. Elric Shrine is a little bit better to invest in if you really want the White Cedar Timber. But again, you just go to Ulukita for this. I don't know why you would come up to Elric Shrine. It's wildly inefficient. Anyway, you can come up here and do this. Do not grab the Sky Mushrooms if you do end up doing that. All right, let's talk about, we're working our way through Calpheon. Keep in mind, I'm going to start speeding up so that this video doesn't take forever, and we've already explained a lot of the nodes in this guide. Never mind the fact that there was a 6-hour cut between when I started the guide and now. But honestly, note, we'll cut that out in post anyway. Okay, let's talk about Berniento Farm. Berniento Farm, great node, high priority in Calpheon. Platinum Trace of Nature, talked about that. Really good. Now let's talk about Northern Wheat Plantation. All 3 of them, get them. Paprika is great. It's used as a vegetable in cooking. Wheat is great. It's used in beer and cooking. So is barley. Amazing. You can sell all of them on the marketplace. They're awesome. Dandelion, you reach out here to this birch node. This is a low priority node. You don't want to take this unless you have 400 or more contribution. Karudo Cave, tin and rough red crystal. S tier node, W node. You definitely want to get this one as quickly as possible, whether you have to put a idle worker on it or what. You do definitely want to get Karudo Cave. Really, really solid. Okay, what else? Now we're going to look toward the southern part of Calpheon. We're going to go to Ozzy Pass. Ozzy Pass has Monk's Branch. It's always sold out at max price on the marketplace. It's required for a lot of late game elixirs. Super, super good. Cedar Timber is also incredibly good too. Again, one of the top tier timbers that will sell for a very a wonderful price. North Abandoned Quarry. This is one of the new nodes in the game as of the most recent patch, or I guess like a patch like 2 weeks ago, whatever. Copper and translucent crystal. Huge W. Grab that. Low contribution. Just make sure that the worker is working from Kepler. Kepler Quarry. Same thing. Coal and Powder of Rifts. Arguably the best coal node in the game, or one of the best coal nodes in the game. Super, super good. Coal will always sell on the marketplace because people need steel. Really important. Nowadays, you can see that this is one of the new node chains that I've picked up. Marnie's Lab now has a node on it that actually gives fir timber and spirit leaf now. Fir timber and spirit leaf. Spirit leaf's used in alchemy. Fir timber, like I said, is one of the top tier timber nodes in the game. Glutonic Cave also has one of the best coal nodes in the game because, believe it or not, the run distance for this node, as long as you're using a Kepler worker, mind you, is like 20 minutes. 20 minutes round trip, and boom, you are cranking coal out of this node. Really, really high quality node. Before it was not it wasn't reasonable to get it because you had to connect around like this in order to do so. Really frustrating, but now there's 2 nodes here which make it more valuable. I would say that these are some of the better nodes around Kepler, with the exception of Guianan Farm. This is again the most important node around Kepler. This is priority 1. Like, if you can't get any of the other nodes, this is the most important one. Cedar Timber, Cedar Sap. Cedar Sap, you need 7 cedar per make of a very important late game alchemy recipe. So as we talked about before, really important. You can take this chain down here, Abandoned Quarry right here, Zinc and Powder of Earth. This is one of the new nodes, I believe, as well. Zinc is always going to be one of the better in terms of like quality, like in terms of like silver per rotation that your worker is doing. Zinc is really solid. Zinc always sells really well in the marketplace. Powder of Earth always sells relatively well. Primal Giant Post has lead ore, but I'll be honest with you, this is not a priority. Not a priority. You do not need this at all. But what you do need is you need to come out here to Hexstone Wall, Iron Ore and Powder of Darkness. This node is really good if you have contribution to spare. You are not coming down here unless you have a bunch of extra contributions. So new players, you're not doing this chain right here. Marie Cave is also a great node because Pine Sap is at this node. Not very many people have it. And so again, the resource, usually the resource graph for this looks pretty good. You can see that, again, not very many people have these nodes, 99%, so you're getting giga value out of the Pine Sap from that node right there. Really, really good, as we talked about before. Okay, now let's sweep west a little bit. We're going to talk about Female's Cabin. Fir Timber, Fir Sap. Obviously, that's a slam dunk node. Can't go wrong with that. Tin and Powder of Earth at Bear Riverhead. S tier. This is, you definitely want this. Tin is basically like zinc in terms of how well it sells. Very, very solid resource and will always sell in the market. Tin, Root 'em Out Station. We just scuffed it. Rough Green Crystal. Also super valuable. Really good. Mancha Forest. S tier. These are your Trent nodes. You're taking these. Fir Timber, Fir Sap. Gold, Trace of Nature, Trace of Nature. This is one of those nodes you have to talk with the NPC in order to unlock. So make sure that you chat with that NPC and exchange energy or whatever that you have to do it. Come down here to Trent Forest. This is one of the first Trent nodes that you will take, although it's not as important as the nodes that we just talked about. Up at Mancha Forest, Trent Forest, again, gives you Fir Timber, Bloody Tree Knot. Bloody Tree Knot will sell. It's used in alchemy. Fir Timber we've discussed many times, so I'm not going to go into it. Lumberjack's Rest Area, Cedar Timber, Spirit's Leaf. Again, alchemy and timber. Can't go wrong with that. Again, Calpheon Timber Crates. Another notable node to mention is Longleaf Tree Forest. This gives you Cedar Timber, Cedar Sap. That is an S tier node. The problem is, well, it's not S tier. I'd say it's like B to A tier at best because you have to take 1, 2, 3 nodes in order to get it. It's a lot of it's like 7 contribution to take 1 node. Maybe it's 5 at the lowest to get 1 node. It's not very good, but you can take that if you have the extra contribution. You're super late game on your contribution. That's certainly a consideration that you can make. I think that we've gotten through all of our Calpheon nodes. Chat. Oh, we talk about Star's End. Star's End. There's 2 ways to connect Star's End. You can connect it through Calpheon, which is the incorrect way, or you can connect it through Kamasylvia, which we're going to talk about next. That is the correct way to do it. I'm going to explain why here in a moment. If you connect it through Calpheon, it's basically useless. All of these nodes are basically useless all the way out, so you end up wasting a lot of contribution. All right, Porphyria. A lot of people talk about the fishing nodes in the game. Fishing nodes, not very efficient. Do not recommend, but you're going to need it to make good feed, like feed for your pets. That's how you make this. And there's always a demand for that on the market. So if you want to mass produce that and sell it to people, you can do that. It'll help level up your cooking and stuff as well. I recommend coming out to Randis Island because there is a difference, I'm fairly certain. They did change something about this recently, so I could be wrong about this. I'm not entirely certain, but this is the way it was for like 8 years. There is a difference between seafood and fish, okay? Dried sorrel, big eye, and mau mau are all just fish. You can use them as normal fish. Octopus, though, actually qualifies as seafood, which there are certain recipes in BDO that require very specifically seafood. So if you're going to come out here and use your Porphyria worker, I recommend coming up to Randis Island because it's going to give you the seafood and it's going to give you the fish that you need. If you only come out to Circa, you can see that you get dried mullet, dried scorpion, dried flying fish, and dried porgy. That's not going to help you. That's all just fish stuff. Okay. Now, let's look down at Kamasylvia and talk about the nodes that are good here. Old Wisdom Tree. What should you do here? Nothing. Okay, moving on. There's really no good nodes around Old Wisdom Tree at all. With even the Moss Tree Sap. Moss Tree Sap is really only good for the Weenie Loony elixirs. Again, it's really funny to say Surging Weenie. The really funny elixir in BDO that is literally the name of the elixir. And yes, it does require Moss Tree Sap, but at the end of the day, you can just buy it off the market. Nobody really cares. It gives you knowledge. Mancha Forest is really solid to have, like if you invest energy into it while you're grinding for your infinite potion, I can see that. But again, the nodes are basically useless. Now, talk about Grana. Grana, the reason why you want to connect Star's End from Grana is because there's a lot of high value nodes along the way up there. First, we'll talk about Southern Kamasylvia. This is Knockor. Knockor always sells at maximum possible price. There's a huge demand for Knockor. It is the best ore in the game, typically, to sell on the central market in terms of how frequently you're getting the ore and how much you can actually sell it for. It is S+ tier. If you can only take 1 node in Kama, I recommend it be this one, mainly because not very many people have Southern Kamasylvia. So if you look at the territory resource information, you can see it's 99.5% positive. Nobody has this node. It's going to be super efficient for you. But another Knockor node is just over this ridge here. And again, this is going to connect in a big way up to Star's End. So we're going to get to that in a second. If you have the contribution to spare, 300 to 400 contribution, you take the Knockor and Powder of Earth at Lake of Flounder. You start working your way up through Whitewood Forest. Up through honestly, that's another name for my private. Never mind. Then you come up to Tooth Fairy Cabin. Tooth Fairy Cabin has Trace of Nature node, but isn't really super valuable. I don't recommend necessarily taking this node, but it is there. You move up through here, Loopy Tree Forest. You come up here. This is one of the most important nodes in the game, in my opinion. Not because the Loopy Tree Timber is actually very good. In fact, you want to make sure that you have a lot of luck on this particular node, if at all possible. You can run a human from Trent. He's a super great way to do it. If you don't have enough workers in Grana, again, you can run the Trent worker across the mountains, and his run distance actually isn't too bad. Remember, run distance is actually based on how far, like physically, the node actually is from the run itself. So you actually might get better run distance from Trent than you might get from Grana in some cases, depending on the worker. It's really, really solid. And again, human worker if at all possible, but again, Papu is going to outperform Fetus normally on that node if you're running it from Grana. Of course, you're going to connect up through Ash Forest to reach Star's End. Stars End, Massive Pure Magic, and Trace of Nature. This is not an essential node. It is not particularly super great anymore, but it does give you Trace of Nature, which is really good. Massive Pure Magic is essentially useless nowadays for enhancing black stars that you don't have to do because Jae-hee Kim why Jae-hee Kim keeps handing us a bunch of black stars at every ball and thinking that he's helping the game. Okay. So that's Kamasylvia in a nutshell. I think I've gotten through it. Now we're going to move on over to Odraxia. Odraxia really only has 1 to 2 chains that you can actually take in terms of nodes, and really there's only 1 chain of nodes that you can really take in Odraxia, and so you want to come north of Odraxia. In fact, there is 1 node right here that gives you potatoes and grapes. We talked about grapes. They count as a fruit in BDO. Really solid. Potatoes, again, you can get potatoes from anywhere. I wouldn't necessarily prioritize these. It's kind of high contribution when you compare it to the potato nodes coming out of Velia. Either way, you're going to come up to Forgotten Mountain. Here's the nodes you're actually looking for in Olin's Valley. You're looking at nickel and powder of darkness, S tier in terms of how much money you're going to be getting from a node like this. Powder of darkness always sells. Nickel is always super valuable. And then this one is nickel and mithril. If you can only take one of these 2 nodes because they're extremely expensive, you really want to take the southern one. Nickel and powder of darkness is going to be more valuable than nickel and mithril. The mithril, I've had that node for probably 3 years. And I have 633 mithril. 3 years. Okay. That's how inefficient that node is. Just to be clear. All right. But, I like the nickel. That's ultimately the reason I have it. You're going to reach up to Bahit Sanctum, and then you're going to come down to Crypt of Resting Thoughts. Please keep in mind, guys, that part of the reason I have pathed my nodes this way is it also coincides with a lot of the best grind zones in the game. So you'll notice that we've gone through Olin's Valley here, and then we've also gone through Crypt. Olin's Valley is one of the most popular group grind zones in the entire game. Crypt of Resting Thoughts is also a fantastic grind zone. So if you want to invest energy into these zones as well, again, I'm also helping you do that by following this Worker Empire guide. Please remember to put a like on the video. I love you. Again, Crypt of Resting Thoughts gives you Massive Pure Magic and Trace of Nature. This is not a super high priority node, but again, it's really nice to have it because you can invest energy into it. So when you want to grind it later, you can have higher drop rate. 5% higher drop rate at level 20 is actually pretty impactful there if you're grinding for, I don't know, the Deboreka belt or whatever. And Crypt isn't as common a grind zone anymore, but it's actually super fun and a really chill grind zone to be grinding at. There are a few other nodes like Thornwood Forest gives you Thornwood Timber, Thornwood Sap. Thornwood Sap is really only useful for 1 alchemy recipe, if I remember correctly. It's not super useful, and neither is Thornwood Timber. Thuja Sap is something entirely different that's actually useful for the Helix Elixir, but don't get the 2 confused. There's only 1 other node that's actually super valuable, and it's down here somewhere. Where is it? This one? Is it that one? Nope. That one? Yep, Narcion. Okay, you got chicken meat and egg. You really want to come down here to chicken meats and egg? Sure, but again, you get this out of Velia, and you get more than enough to supply any Worker Empire you could possibly want, as long as you take the 2 chicken nodes around Velia. So no one really takes this, even though it's okay. It's okay. Interestingly enough, you can take the Narcion node and maybe get a higher drop rate on some of your hunting drops, maybe. Although I don't think that the drop rate actually affects hunting. It would only affect like the loot that the mob is dropping that your pets are picking up. So I still don't think it's actually very efficient in that regard. Now, okay. So you'll notice that I have a branching path off from Odraxia. This is because they've given us a lot of free Odraxia workers, and I don't have very much to do with them. So I have them kind of cheat over and help me out with Ailton and Mountain of Eternal Winter. Mountain of Eternal Winter does have some pretty good nodes in the southern half of the region here, and most of those nodes I'm running out of Ulukita. That's why they're connected. That's why this entire pathway is connected. Do you have Pilgrim's End? These are terrible. Do not get any of these. It's like, oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's for a good reason. Don't worry about any of that stuff. It's not really useful for almost anything. Finally, you'll come to Shirakan Mine. Here's the rough obsidian ore that everybody loves so much. This is actually one of the highest value nodes in the game, in my opinion, because nobody has it. It takes a ton of contribution to get out here and run a worker from this node. But the rough obsidian ore sells for a stupid amount of money. It's crazy. I don't know how much obsidian I actually have. right now, but it is a wildly efficient node and it sells for crazy amounts of money. So recommend, if you have the extra contribution and you've got the extra Odraxia workers and you're connecting it over a lot like I am here in order to put them to work over in Mountain of Eternal Winter, the Shirikan Iron Mine is definitely the place to pick that up. It's the only node in the game that drops that. Very few players know about it and very few players still actually use it. But if you're a newer player, you're not going to have the contribution to reach that node. All right, let's move over here. I think that we talked about Shirikan Iron Man, so we're going to talk about Tory Woods. Tory Woods is Bracken. We talked about Bracken briefly in Land of the Morning Light a long time ago. Bracken is always super useful for the Duvenkroon meal, and only really the Duvenkroon meal in cooking, but it's still very valuable and will sell. It goes through periods of being much better and much worse, but it's okay. I would say that's a low value node. If you don't have the extra workers, don't sweat that one. Tory Woods is the skipping one. If you have an extra worker, throw it on there. Mountaintop Guard Post, Birch and Monk's Branch. We're here for the Monk's Branch. Put the human on there. You want to make sure that you're getting you don't care about the birch timber as much. The Monk's Branch is super good and will be high value for you. Jade Starlight Forest is a new player. This is a great node. We're on Mountain of Eternal Winter now, guys, by the way. This is Mountain of Eternal Winter. We've kind of come over from Odie to Mountain of Eternal Winter here. This is Jade Starlight Forest. This is the place that a lot of people grind for their Labresca helmet. Snowfield Cedar Sap helps you make the Elixir of Destruction. I haven't been naming a lot of the elixirs by name, but Destruction Elixir is something that a lot of people know what it is. It gives you 2% special attack damage. It is something that a lot of people use in PvE and PvP, high-end across the board. People use it to grind more efficiently. Most of the time, you're going to see it thrown into the Harmony Droughts. Again, it is a part of those elixirs as far as I'm aware, or as far as those recipes are concerned. Snowfield Cedar Sap is usually the limiting factor on that. Again, you're worried about luck on that one. Rough Jade, useless node. Don't take it. I don't even know why I have it. I experimented with Rough Jade for a while. Not super great. If you look at the marketplace, I'm like kind of hoping against hope that this is actually going to be useful someday. That at some point I will be able to do something with this Jade, and the developers are going to be like, yeah, it takes Jade. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be like, I am a rich man. But like, don't recommend taking that unless you want to experiment like I do with some stuff. Zavir Highlands, as you move up towards Ailton right here, because again, this is branching down from Ailton at this point. Again, we have Odraxia connected over to Ailton, so I can use workers from both regions. Zavir Highlands here has cooking honey. This is the best cooking honey node in the entire game, mainly because, well, it was before I made my last guide on it. Let's see how it's doing today. Still very, very good. Its efficiency is extremely high. It requires a very small amount of contribution to get to. And if you look at Alejandro Farm over here, you see that Alejandro Farm is much less efficient on the node because a lot more people have it. So believe it or not, if you come to Mountain of Eternal Winter, that honey node is actually pretty solid. You can make a lot of money from the cooking honey node. Really good. Trace of Nature. This is an okay node on Zavir Highland. This is a low priority. The quartz is like whatever. The Trace of Nature is what you're here for. There's better excavation nodes to be taken, so you can skip that one if you want to. As we move up to the northern part of Mountain of Eternal Winter, you can see that I have Atherithia's Belt and Windmills Perch. Windmills Perch, this is the better of the two Snowfield Cedars sap nodes. You typically want to have at least one of these nodes running all the time so you can get Snowfield Cedar Sap. I'll be honest with you though, if you're doing alchemy on a regular basis, you're going to have to come out and gather the Snowfield Cedar Sap yourself. I'll just go ahead and do you the solid. Just gather anywhere around Ailton for the most part. We'll have Snowfield Cedar trees, particularly to the south or just to the north of Ailton. We'll have a bunch of Snowfield Cedar Sap trees. You'll have enough cedar sap for that, no problem. So if it's really an issue, you don't really necessarily need to have a node, but it's really good to have the passive income on that because you're going to use that sap eventually anyway. Now let's talk about Duvenkroon, because I have Ailton and Mountain of Eternal Winter connected up to my Duvenkroon nodes. I have extra workers down here that are running up to Tashira Ruin. Look, it's Bracken again, because again, I can sell that when Bracken goes up, and they create cooking recipes in the game that require Bracken. Believe it or not, that's pretty common that happens. There's Kuwait Lumber Camp up here. This is probably the best node in Drieghan. Birch Timber, Birch Plank, Birch Sap. Pine Timber, Pine Plank, Pine Sap. Which one's more important? Pine Timber, Pine Plank, Pine Sap. Now, they decreased. These used to be 5 contribution apiece. Wildly overpriced. Now they're like 2 contribution apiece. They're actually obtainable. But pro tip, you do not need to run a worker from Duvenkroon in order to obtain this. You can actually run the worker from Glish, and that's what I do. okay? Because you're going to have a lot of extra workers in Heidel. That means you can take the extra workers that you happen to have in Glish because, you know, you're going to get one for free. And you can run, or you can use the pay-to-win, whatever, lodging, whatever, on that. And you can run them to Kuwait Lumber Camp. And the run distance is actually really, really good. Definitely a really solid node if you have it, if you're able to pick it up. Now let's rotate across. I consider Dorman Lumber Camp part of Duvenkroon, one of the best nodes in the game. Super underrated. Fir timber, fir plank, fir sap. That speaks for itself. But believe it or not, here's the Thuja sap, which I think is the only Thuja sap node in the game. Thuja sap is actually not really obtainable. You can't really go gather it yourself. You can, but it's really hard. I've tried it. It's really hard. The trees are really spread out. It's not super fun. They do look distinct, but they're not really fun to go gather. So you really kind of need to have the node. This makes the Helix Elixir, which is the evasion elixir in the game. It's the best in slot evasion elixir in the game, which helps make, I think, armor drought as well. So if you like armor drought, it's part of that recipe, and you can absolutely go through that. Anyway, that's Dorman Lumber Camp. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have a lot of contribution, you are not reaching out to Dorman Lumber Camp. This is a lot of contribution invested to try to connect nodes all the way out here. You have to invest through Garmoth's Nest, up to the Garvish Mountains, and then over to Dorman Lumber Camp. It is not very worthwhile to do unless you have a bunch of extra contribution laying around. Again, 400 plus contribution, you should start looking at that. Other nodes in Duvenkroon, I'm just going to save you the trouble. Don't. There's Fountain of Origin, like I said. Even that one's not super worthwhile, but if you want to, we did discuss it a little bit before. Sherikhan Necropolis is another mithril trace of nature. Completely useless. I had it for like a year. It's basically dog water. Okay, there's a few nodes throughout Duvenkroon, but they're really not super great. Okay. All right, so that's Duvenkroon. All right, Valencia nodes. There's a lot of these that are wildly inefficient. You do not want to take a lot of these nodes. I'm going to cover very quickly which ones are the most cost efficient based on like, hey, you get one worker there already. Which node should that be on? For Sandgrain Bazaar, it's Kaposha. You put it on the Kaposha node, you get the copper, the rough opal, the powder of flame, giga node. Okay, the run distance on that is crazy good. If you have extra workers, you throw them on Bazaar Farm and you grab the nutmeg first. Nutmeg is giga important for the Valencia meal. Most players that do guru cooking boxes on the server do the Valencia meal as their guru cooking box. One of the limiting reagents in some of the recipes for the Valencia meal is nutmeg. So you can sell this for really solid prices. Teff is not important. Not important at all. You basically just need teff flour to make teff bread, and you don't need very much of it. So teff does not sell very well, but if you need it, like, you can grab teff if you have the extra contribution or the extra worker. Another notable thing at Sandgrain Bazaar is Pilgrim's Haven. One of people's this is where, by the way, you also, if you like to gather and you need rocks or whatever, you need rough stone, you come out to Pilgrim's Haven. It's just northeast of Sandgrain Bazaar. Nobody ever talks about it anymore, but it is pretty solid. You are not grabbing the cactus node. Worst node in the game, probably. Cactus doesn't have a known use that I'm actually aware of that is actually useful to anyone. Iron ore, powder of darkness, rough black crystal, though, that's pretty good. It's pretty good, but again, it's too much contribution investment in order to do something. Options, if you would have come out here, you can actually connect Bazaar Farm to Valencia Western Highlands, and there's a node chain that will bring you all the way out to Crescent Shrine, where you can get titanium or rough violet crystal and powder of flame. These are very high value nodes, but the problem is they require so much contribution that no one typically takes them. It's like I think 8 contribution to get out here, 7 or 8 contribution to get out to Crescent Shrine to take this one node. And obviously date palm is pretty good too. Date palm is used in the Valencia meal, but there's way easier nodes to get it from, so you don't really look at that node if you're going to come out this far. You can continue moving outward to the Crescent Mountains. Again, iron ore, powder of darkness, rough black crystal. Why are we wasting all this contribution for these menial resources? It's the same thing. It's really not super valuable. Achman has an interesting note on it. Fig, which is again used in the Valencia meal, but there's better ways to get fig that we're going to cover later. You come all the way out here to Tidium Valley. Tidium Valley has palm timber, palm sap, palm plank. One of the only saps and timbers in the game that is not particularly useful and doesn't have coconuts this time, so it's not very good. Pistachio and teff, again, are not very high value, and we're not worried about that. Also, you have to connect it to Sandgrain. Moiquin is not, as far as I'm aware, you can't actually hire workers in Moiquin. I have tried. There's no one there to hire workers. Okay, that's down there. Now let's talk about the space between Altanova and Sandgrain, which also counts as Valencia. There are areas like Basham Base. This is not worth it at all. Again, iron ore is just not, you don't want to reach all the way out here. We're talking about, guys, like like 15, 20 contribution to even get down here. This is an opal node, which is okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. You could connect it through Altanova, but it's still going to be a tremendous amount of contribution to get what is basically a lackluster opal node. Or like, it's an okay opal node, but is opal really that valuable to you? You come up through here and you start getting a little bit better. Elder tree sap. Okay, you can make the case that maybe you want some of that, but elder tree sap really is only used to make boats in BDO for the most part. Maybe some furniture. Not very useful. Not recommended to grab that. Here's the elder tree sap again. Pistachio, nobody cares about. We're going to come up to Kunin's vacation spot. Finally, we have a high value node. Bag of money water and purified water. Believe it or not, purified water is a super high value resource, especially for alchemy and BDO. To be bringing it in passively is really good. You can process the bag of muddy water into more purified water. This will always sell in the marketplace because it's required in alchemy. There are only 2 nodes for this in the game. Kunin's vacation spot is the better one to take, but it requires at least 8 contribution points, I think, to get to this node and take it. So it's really, you see that I don't have it necessarily either. Again, it's just not worth it in my opinion. The other one is called Leco Falls. Again, you can see that has purified water as well. If you're super into alchemy, yes, these nodes are worth it. Otherwise, you're probably just going to get your purified water off the marketplace. Okay, that's about it. On the way up to, now we're going to move on up to Shikatu up here. There is no nodes that I'm aware of up to Shikatu. Yeah, that you're basically just using these to connect down to Kunit's vacation spot if you have an extra worker in Shikatu. Alternatively, you can connect up through Altanova. Sandgrain's kind of a long connection. That's going to cost you 15 contribution to get there. Normally, Shikatu, you're going to run your workers to Shikatu farmland. That gives you fig, which you're going to need for Valencia meals, or you can sell it to the people who do need it for Valencia meals. You can grab both fig nodes. Those are super good. Star Anise is not valuable enough. Don't even bother. Star Anise is complete and useless, basically. Now, the next thing you can do is you can connect out through Gahaz here. If you have a bunch of extra Shikatu workers, do not... Frika is okay. I would say this node is mid at best. You can buy most of the Frika that you're going to need off the market, and I've had this node for a while. It is not very efficient in terms of how much Frika your worker is picking up and bringing back. It's not super great. If you come up to Iris Cannon, here's Nutmeg. We talked about how good that is before. There's the Elder Tree. I said, oh, well, if I'm coming up here for Nutmeg, that might as well be where I invest into Elder Tree. And again, you do not want to invest. This is only for people that have like 420 or more contribution at this point, or over 400 contribution. You can take this extension right here. This is fine if you want to take this, and you have the extra workers to spare coming out of Shikatu. This is where you want to put them to work. Kamak Canyon. This is your vanadium ore. This is the easiest vanadium ore to get in the game with the rough blue crystal and the powder of rifts. Really good for alchemy on that one too. So everything there sells. You can run a goblin off of it. The vanadium will net you a lot of money. The problem is, again, getting to it. But if you're going to come out here to Iris Canyon to get the nutmeg, it's only a reach down to Kamak Canyon. You can come over to Ankado Coast. Why would you take this node? Because it actually connects you to Ankado Inner Harbor. Believe it or not, if you don't have Ankado Inner Harbor, like if you don't have contribution invested around Ankado Inner Harbor, you can't actually use the worker out of Ankado. But you can hire a worker here. You can hire a worker here, and it can run, but you have to have Ankado connected with everything else. It's really strange. But I run my Ankado worker. I think I run it over to Kamak Canyon because, you know, why not, I guess. Oh, he's running to Kavinia Volcano. Okay, so I have him running over to the volcano over here because I had the extra, the run distance must be pretty solid there. Then I come down, I connect it through Rakshan Observatory to Valencia. Let's talk about Valencia. These are the best nodes in Valencia. Valencia Plantation, Date Palm, very good. Here's the Frika node that you're actually going to take that doesn't take like 1 million contribution to get to, especially if you have less contribution available. This is the Frika node you definitely want to take. You need it for the Valencia meal. This is where you want to get your Frika unless you're buying it off the marketplace. Date Palm is always good. You can sell that. All of these things sell really well. Believe it or not, the Silkworm, Cocoon, and Silk Thread, this actually does sell a lot. This stuff actually sells. It's used for various crafting materials in the game and things like this. Believe it or not, nobody seems to understand where to get silk at all. So yeah, I have this node. It does really well for me. Not very many other players have it. Date Palm node again here, obviously really, really good. And that's it again. Erdal Farm. You come across from Valencia, you're going to see Ariha Palm Forest. There are 2 palm nodes here. Both of them give you coconuts. These are really good. If you're going to bring in palm timber, this is where you do it. Coconuts are super high value because they're used for several recipes in the game. Okay, so coconuts will always sell. They're not as rare as they used to be, but they will absolutely sell. And if you're going to bring in palm timber, yeah, it's a very low value timber, but it will sell to the traders on the marketplace. So it's still worth it to get, albeit low, like low quality. You want to grab these nodes first. Those are the important ones. But if you have an extra worker, throw it on there. Why not? Now we're going to go north of Arihaza, where you're going to have a worker here. This is, I think, a cactus node. Total dog water. Don't grab that. Come all the way up to the Gavinia volcano zone. Here's your titanium, your powder of flame, and your rough violet crystal. So this is the best titanium node in the game, contribution point wise, in my opinion. This is definitely the best place to go ahead and get this. You come up with your one worker from Arihaza. If you have the extra few contribution points, you can go ahead and grab that. If you want to get really adventurous, you can come up to the greater crater, grab a titanium node there, and then you can come down to the cliff and grab, this is vanadium ore, opal, powder of darkness. This is complete dog shit, but you would come up here for the vanadium ore. I don't necessarily recommend doing that, as it is a lot of contribution to come up here. It's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 contribution more to take that. It's really just not valuable in my opinion. But yeah, those are the nodes, I think, in Valencia that are super, super high value. I think I've kind of gone through all of them. So, guys, I believe I have covered everything that you need to know about workers and your empire, and which nodes are efficient and which nodes aren't. I know I buzzed through a lot of the regions kind of quickly, but hopefully you can just go to the timestamp you need, and I gave you the information that you needed very, very clearly there. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below on the video, and I will make a concerted effort to make sure I'm answering those and pinning the comment that is important, very important. If I missed anything important, we will link in the video description. There are several websites, or at least a couple websites that you can use if you really want to min-max your worker empire in terms of cost efficiency. Of course, prices are always going to change on nodes, so some of the information in this guide might be outdated. Currently, it's June 2nd, 2025. And again, if I don't update this guide, that means the information in this guide is up to date. I only bring my guides up to date when I absolutely have to. But you know, the marketplace does shift over time, patch to patch. You just never know. And again, those websites can be absolutely super useful if there's a big shift one way or another, if you want to see how efficient nodes are. So we'll leave those in the link to the video description. Remember to hit subscribe and like the video if you really enjoyed it, because it does help a lot in the algorithm. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.